of Sports Guru's channel. I am your host, Sports Guru.
Or even Dak, that's fine. But when it comes to, the voice of,
We about to head back into another franchise episode.
That voice of his team. It's all about credit and him being out front. And the moment you hire a personality like a Vrabel or a Pete Carroll, or Harbaugh was never even considered. I can promise you that, because that truly, overshadows Jerry, and that's something to consider also as to why he kept Mike McCarthy. Because when you picture Dallas Cowboys, right? When you say Dallas Cowboys, what comes to mind first, Mike McCarthy or Jerry Jones? Jerry Jones, yeah, and that's what he wants.
Right. That's certainly true, and you would not want to Bill Belichick or even a Harbaugh, you're right, to overshadow or disrupt any of that. And I guess if you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, I'm not going to go for any of the big names out there anyways. I'm going to go for some up-and-coming coordinator or whomever. I could do that next season. I could still give McCarthy one last chance, maybe even Dak one last chance as he heads into the final year of his contract. 888 say ESPN. John is calling us from Indianapolis. Go ahead, John.
Well, first of all, Ian, I agree with you. I'm shocked that Mike McCarthy stayed, but I'm happy for him because he's not the issue. The issue is Jerry Jones. And until that idiot lets go of being the GM and lets someone else come in and run that organization, he's never going to get back to the 90s dynasty. I loved watching them when I was a kid. Growing up, watching them against the Bills in the Super Bowls, that was amazing. But they had the team, they had a structure, and now they just have an 82-year-old man that is out of his mind and needs to let go.
Nah.
Here's the problem, John. We appreciate your phone call, man.
That shit ain't happening.
It's never going to happen. It's going to go from Jerry to Steven. He's never
Welcome to Week 8 of the 2025 NFL season on the Madden 23 simulation engine.
That Jerry has relinquished a lot of the football decisions to Will McClay, who actually a lot of teams came in and put a request in to interview Will McClay, who's the director of Pro Football Ops, and he's really in charge of the draft and the scouts and everybody else. A lot of teams have come in trying to poach McClay to leave the Cowboys and become their general manager. McClay said, no, I'm not interested. He's staying with the Dallas Cowboys. So Will McClay and Stephen Jones have really taken over a lot of the football decisions. But Cowboy fans don't care about that because Jerry's still there, and Jerry is still the figurehead, and Jerry's still out front. Therefore, they still hate that Jerry Jones is still entitled the owner and general manager, because the owner is brilliant. The old GM was a football fool.
We got another John on the line. This one is from Pennsylvania. Hey, John.
So I'm a lifelong Cowboys fan. Over the years, I've become more of just a casual fan after all the setbacks. But my solution is I would get rid of, from a fan standpoint, I would get rid of the quarterback, the head coach, and if I could get rid of Jerry Jones, I would. I mean, I predicted this season at the beginning of the season. When has Dak ever won? He got schooled by a 25-year-old, essentially a rookie. But you know what? From a businessman point of view,
they had a deep ball throwing team,
as a coach, gets them 12 wins every year. Cowboys are always on prime time. They're always talked about. They're always covered. And you know what's going to happen in the beginning of next year? All the lights will be shining on the Cowboys. So maybe he truly does want to win a Super Bowl, but he's not doing too badly from a businessman's perspective. But as an old-time fan, I mean, I'm still a fan, but I've been gone a long time. And it's just sad. Every year is the same exact thing.
I understand the disappointment. I understand you want to win Super Bowls. It's always
Home team players have been unstoppable.
Dolphins fan, because I'm like, man, I would take a lot of the success the Cowboys have had. I understand. It's not a championship that organization wants to be at. But
and shook play art distortion.
12-win seasons, winning divisions, all that kind of stuff.
And then unstoppable home and away teams can be knocked out. It cannot be knocked out of the zone. Unstoppable. This is the one I particularly want. And
money hand over fist, and the Dallas Cowboys brand just continues to grow and grow and get a lot of our attention here, even on ESPN.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Well, except for the postseason, and that's what he covets more than anything else. Think about this. In the last 3 years, the Dallas Cowboys have lost in a grotesque clock mismanagement the porn star Jimmy Garoppolo, right, in the Niners.
Yes, sir.
Then to the Niners last year yet again. Then this year to a first-year starter in his first playoff game ever, and the youngest team in the postseason.
Oof. I have been playing like
favorite,
trash.
Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. And you're keeping the coach. And I'm happy for Mike McCarthy, because Dak was horrendous. I mean, but it wasn't just Dak the last 3 years. You had that grotesque clock mismanagement at the end of the Niner game a couple years ago. Remember when Dak scrambled and the answers to the questions in the locker room were, do you guys practice that? To get up and clock the ball. Most teams will have the center and guard separate so the umpire can come up and spot the football. These dudes were like, hey! It was like Keystone Cops out there. That's coaching. I mean, so it's not just on Dak. It's not just on McCarthy. It's the entire organization.
Okay.
And Jerry's made the decision. 3 straight 12-win seasons. In his statement, he cites that Mike McCarthy has the best regular season record as a Cowboys head coach through 3 seasons. Okay, regular season. Keyword. And right now, I mean...
Well, what the heck else is he going to do?
That's a great point. What else are you going to say to sell to a fan base and you're keeping the guy that just got pantsed in the playoffs?
Pretty fucking much.
And that's why you're keeping him, right? You're keeping him because maybe you don't think it was really on McCarthy, that one game or that one performance. You're keeping him because you do like the record overall. You're keeping him maybe because you like the development of Dak. Or maybe you just want the contract to expire. You want to rock into the final year of it. We're going to stick with this as we head into the 9 o'clock hour because tons of reaction. You can line up 888-SAY-ESPN. We will get to more of your phone calls. If you're hanging on, keep hanging on for us. We're coming back with more calls. Mike McCarthy is staying as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. We have been getting your reaction for the last hour-ish.
I want to be
News has
Premier.
broken. 888-SAY-ESPN. Amber and Ian is presented by Progressive Insurance. He's Ian Fitzsimmons. I am Amber Wilson. Adam Schefter is the one, of course, who broke this news for us. The ESPN NFL insider was on our show earlier. Here's his reaction to the Cowboys sticking with McCarthy.
The more time went on, the more you thought this is possible. Like if Jerry Jones was going to make a change, he was going to do it right away, I would think. And he didn't. He didn't do it Sunday night. He didn't do it Monday. He didn't do it Tuesday. He didn't do it today. We're later in the day. And I think with each moment that passes, there is a situation where you have a team that obviously isn't ready to make a change. And I think they viewed it as
possession I wasn't going to use
12 games in 3 straight seasons. And even though there's only 1 playoff win to show for it, they thought, you know what, we're going to run it back. And we're going to take our chance again, roll the dice here, see if we can make it work. And that's obviously what they decided to do here.
So that is, in fact, what they decided to do. We also got a statement from the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, the man who made this decision. Ian?
Amber, I believe this team. I can't do the entire statement as Jerry. I believe this team is very close and capable of achieving our ultimate goals. And the best step forward for us will be with Mike McCarthy as our head coach. Again, this is a statement from Jerry Jones, GM of the Dallas Cowboys. He said, quote, there is a great benefit to continuing the team's progress under Mike's leadership as our head coach. Specifically, there are many layers of success that have occurred this season as a result of Mike's approach to leading the team both with individual players and with our team collectively.
Oh, wow.
Mike has the highest regular season winning percentage of any head coach in Cowboys history, and we will dedicate ourselves in partnership with him to translating that into reaching our postseason goals. Certainly, Mike's career has demonstrated postseason success at a high level, and we have great confidence that can continue. He went on to say, further, our loss on Sunday is shared by everyone here, not just Coach McCarthy, our players, our coaches, our front office, myself. There's accountability for our results. I am accountable for our results. The lens we use to view and evaluate Coach McCarthy is holistic. While we're all disappointed with the result on Sunday and our playoff record, I am 100% supportive of him as our head coach and ability to reach our goals, quote, end quote.
be easier if Jerry started just sending us recordings of the statement.
It
like
really
that, right?
would.
We could just like press play. That would do us a real solid there. I feel like we should have that technology
Translation?
in 2024.
I don't want to pay him no more. I got you.
Right. And well, that's the truth of what position Jerry would be in. Instead, Mike McCarthy enters the final year of his deal. He enters an expiring contract. If you decide to move on from Mike McCarthy next offseason, it does save you some money doing it that way, right?
He doesn't care about money.
If you weren't interested in the coaching candidates that were out there, if you didn't want, maybe you don't feel like a Bill Belichick's of the world are going to fit well with you, the Jerry Joneses of the world, then you don't necessarily care about cashing in on this coaching cycle. And so I guess Jerry feels like Mike McCarthy, he gets another shot here. It'll be interesting to see if that other shot comes, though, with a new extension. 888-SAY-ESPN. Lindsay is calling us from North Carolina. Hey, Lindsay, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Amber is why? There got to be some blackmail pictures somewhere that he's holding over Jerry's head. Why? What in the world is going on? They need to change the culture. Changing the culture was getting rid of Mike McCarthy. He's not doggone the type of coach that has the team accountable. He can't see his own team. I've been a Cowboys fan since 1977. I'll be 56 this year. I am tired of Green Bay and San Francisco having our number. Mike McCarthy is not it until we can get some people that's going to want to win, bring some dogs in there, bring some run stoppers in there. Hey, bring Derrick Henry. We need a power running back. Until all that falls into place, I'm just tired, y'all. I appreciate y'all letting me vent. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks for the call, Lindsay. It doesn't help when he brought up Green Bay there, that Green Bay appears to be the greatest franchise ever at evaluating quarterback talent. That doesn't help.
No, and think about Green Bay in AT&T Stadium in playoff history. Aaron Rodgers hits that remarkable fourth down pass up the left boundary with about 5 seconds to go. The game-winning field goal, 34-31. That wasn't on Dak. That wasn't on coaching, right? That was just the other team beating you.
What are you doing to Dallas fans right now?
I mean, porn star Jimmy coming in for the Niners 3 years ago, right? Clock mismanagement. That was on coaching. Brock Purdy in the Niners last year. Jordan Love, his first playoff start ever. Youngest team in the postseason. Comes in and just pulls your pants down and gives you a spanking. Keep the head coach. And I want to make this clear. I'm happy for Mike McCarthy. I'm happy for his family and every coach on that staff because they don't have to call the moving trucks, right? I mean, I'm thrilled for him. And then the only reason that I sound like I might not be is because it's more about Jerry. And Jerry's reaction at going back to training camp, this was the year. And that roster was built to survive and advance in the playoffs. And then you go fast forward to you have home field. You are the 2 seed. You did win the division. You had won 16 straight. It was set up perfectly for you to make a run at an NFC championship game. And then that happened on Sunday afternoon. And the way Jerry sounded,
yes, I'm in the zone. And since I'm in the zone, I can't get knocked out.
That was why I thought McCarthy was going to be shown the door, and that's why I'm very
unstoppable.
Butch has been hanging on for us.
Two more
Illinois. Hey, Butch, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, guys. Love the show. You know, I'm a cheesehead my entire life. I'm 65 years old, Packer fan through and through. But my problem with McCarthy was when he was in Green Bay is looking at the individuals that he brought in as some of the coaches and the dismal defenses we had and wasting some of the Aaron Rodgers years. You know, I mean, the ex-University of Illinois coach, where I'm right here in that town, he brought Zook in to be his special teams coach when Illinois consistently had the worst special teams in the entire Big Ten. So, you know, you always talk about coaching trees and the Belichick tree and one thing and another. It'd be interesting to see how many coaches under McCarthy have moved on to become head coaches or even got jobs again as defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators.
Well, I can look that up for you. But again, going back to McCarthy and his Green Bay days, clock management was an issue with Packer fans and Mike McCarthy.
I mean, I'm a Saints fan. Even when every time the Packers would play the Saints under Mike McCarthy, he would just have such god awful time management. And I'd be like, "Are you an NFL head coach or are you a high school coach?"
My reaction is, Jerry, his expectations for this
No.
Amber, how many times have we heard from either former Cowboy players like Marcus Spears to analysts that are dialed in across the league that it was for Jerry Jones this year? It was about
that was a touchdown. He did hold on.
Whether Mike McCarthy was another run, and we saw how it ended. And now Mike McCarthy is still back. And again, thrilled for Mike, but man,
damn, when you hit somebody, so you go on your own ass.
And the way he typically does react, and I disagree with one thing that Schefter said. Jerry does not make rash emotional decisions. If he was going to keep McCarthy, that would have been the early decision. If he was going to get rid of him, that would have been a longer process.
I forgot this is the Anthony Richardson simulation
for him to make this decision
for the Panthers instead of Bryce Young.
And everything I just mentioned about the expectations and the way it ended, that's why I'm surprised Jerry came to this.
I also disagreed with Shefty when he said that, but he certainly is far more plugged in than I could ever be with these sorts of things. I was surprised to hear him say it, I should say, more than I disagreed with him. I thought that either way, whether Jerry was going to fire Mike McCarthy or retain him, either way, we weren't going to get that decision in a knee-jerk sort of reaction. And I don't think we did. Frankly, if he was hiring somebody else, I think it would have taken even longer for us to have gotten the decision. But we did not. It was not a knee-jerk decision. It was not an emotional decision. We are days removed, and he has decided that Mike McCarthy will still be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Tune into NBA action tomorrow as the Timberwolves host the Grizzlies. That is presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Thursday night, right here on ESPN Radio. You can also listen to it on the ESPN app. Coming up next, we will stick with your phone calls because you are blowing up the phone line. We love when you chime into the conversation. Not much positivity so far on the phone line, but we're here for
Niners fans. There is
Cowboys fans. Well, that's true. We did get that call. 888-729-3776. More calls next.
Your discretion advised.
Kingpin, thanks you for your loyalty.
Don't miss Marvel Studios' hardest-hitting series ever.
12 games in 3 straight seasons. And even though there's only one playoff win to show for it, they thought, you know what, we're going to run it back, see if we can make it work.
That was the voice of Adam Schefter. He broke the news that Mike McCarthy is being retained as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He broke that news over an hour ago. He immediately came on, Amber and Ian, because of course we're of the utmost importance. So he came on. He was kind enough to give us some time. If you missed Adam Schefter on Amber and Ian or anything else, you can check out the podcast on the ESPN app. Amber Wilson, Ian Fitzsimmons here with you. Grizzlies at T-Wolves is tomorrow night here on ESPN Radio. Coverage of that game is headed your way at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, so a little bit of an early night tomorrow night for us here on Amber and Ian. But not tonight. Tonight we are here for you to take your phone calls. 888-SAY-ESPN. There's been lots of venting on the phone line. David is calling us from Texas. Hey, David, how you feeling?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm more concerned about how you're feeling in Texas right now with Mike McCarthy as your coach.
Well, I think Jerry absolutely made a terrible decision retaining Mike McCarthy. He's destroyed all of the games that we lost. His time management, lack of planning, getting the coaches prepared, getting the players prepared to win games is dismal. Every game we've lost the same way. It's the exact same way with someone running it down our throat, taking Michael Parsons out the game, and the defenses know our plays. And those 2 interceptions that Dak threw, those guys ran the routes for our guys, so they absolutely knew our plays. The last thing I want to say is that with the Cowboys being the #1 franchise in the world, in the country, why is it that we have a above top 10 ranked coach coaching those guys? Now listen.
part of that is because Jerry continues to want to be the face of the franchise. And when you think of Dallas Cowboys, right, when it comes to anybody that's not a player, do you think of Mike McCarthy first? Do you think of Jerry Jones first? Do you think of Jason Garrett first or Jerry Jones? Wade Phillips or Jerry Jones? The one time in his coaching career, since he ran off Jimmy Johnson, because all Jerry wants credit for delivering another Lombardi. The Jimster got all the credit, and that's why they separated. It was pure ego. And he's been trying to – then he bring in Barry Switzer, who was a figurehead. I mean, you talk to any of those Dynasty Cowboy players from Nate Newton to Troy to on down the line, any one of them, they will tell you if Jimmy were still the coach, they'd still be winning Super Bowls. But he brought in Barry Switzer as a figurehead, managed them to another one, and then in '96, and that was it. They haven't sniffed an NFC Championship game since because Jerry wanted to be the face, and Jerry wants credit. And the only time that he wasn't the face is when he hired Bill Parcells. And the only reason he hired Bill Parcells was to get that
Bro,
to himself, that
why
to himself.
there was no pass interference call in that
At
play?
my feet and my palace to get that built so that taxpayers would build it for him in Arlington, Texas. That's the only reason he hired Bill Parcells. And then how long did that last? Not long. Once the stadium was done, Bill, he gone, and then Jerry became the face again. And again, he wants credit, and he wants nothing. He would take an 8-9 regular season, backdoor into the playoffs, and make a run in the postseason, win that Lombardi, and ride off into the sunset if he got credit. And that's what the man wants, to be the face of the Cowboys, his team, his brand, and to get credit for another Lombardi. And I really do believe, Amber, that's part of the reason why he kept Mike McCarthy.
Listen, you're down there in Texas. Your wife's a Dallas Cowboys fan, so you're closer to this situation than me. From the outside looking in for me, I'm not going to ever insult an owner for building its fans a fancy, amazing stadium. Like, there are worse things owners can do, right? I'm not going to insult an owner, frankly, even for wanting to be part of the team. Not the actual team in terms of personnel, but wanting to put himself as part of the face of the franchise. If I owned something that was worth billions of dollars, you better believe I would probably want to, be on camera occasionally and talk it into a mic. Heck, I do it for a whole lot less money than that right now. Ian Fitzsimmons. So if I owned a team, I can only imagine what I'd be wanting to do in that regard. Now, relinquishing the control of the actual personnel decisions, that's a whole different conversation that we can have. And he has done some of that over the years now as he has aged, but maybe not as much as Cowboys fans would have hoped. 888 say ESPN. That's how you call us. Go ahead, Ian.
I wasn't insulting Jerry. I'm just telling you a fact as to why he hired Bill Parcells. That's a stone-cold fact. And he got the stadium built.
You've got to be fucking serious.
He leaves. Right? And also because Jerry saddled him with Terrell Owens. Parcells didn't want T.O. He never referred to Terrell Owens by his name. He always called him the player. When he was ever posed a question about T.O., Parcells always said, the player you're talking about, the player you're asking about. He didn't want him, but Jerry put him on the team because T.O. was a remarkable talent. Obviously, he's in Canton, but Parcells didn't want that big personality, that diva wideout. I mean, that's meddling Jerry. To your point, you are correct. Jerry he's turned over a lot of the football decisions to Will McClay and Stephen Jones. But again, it's a first-round exit in remarkably embarrassing fashion. And when he said, I can't comprehend what I just saw in that post-game scrum, that's why I firmly believed he was going to part ways with McCarthy. I'm thrilled for Mike. I'm thrilled for those assistant coaches that they're staying. I'm just shocked that Jerry actually made that decision.
What happens, though, in these conversations, because, of course, Cowboys fans are frustrated with the lack of actual championships, and I understand that. But as an owner, the owner's job is not just to win Super Bowls, right? There's other things to it. And as an owner, you could argue Jerry Jones has actually been pretty much a hell of a one. Now, again, the personnel.
Yes, Pete Werner's in the down.
Worst things, of course, I think that owners can do. So I do tend to defend Jerry Jones when it comes to owners because we have seen far worse owners in sports, like owners that are not willing to spend any money, for example, on their
Cough, Spanos.
Out of cities or create horrible fan experiences to try to get their teams out of cities like we've seen with the Oakland A's lately. I digress. 888 say ESPN. Ben has been hanging on for a long time. Ben's calling us from Tennessee. What do you have for us, Ben?
How are you guys doing tonight?
We're great, Ben. How about you?
I'm doing well. I've been a Green Bay Packers fan for a while, and my family, my grandfather's from Wisconsin, and I was nervous about Jordan Love coming in after Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, Justin Evans. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 40. Oh, no.
Already, to me, is better than Dak Prescott. And he's done what he's done.
Yes, just shook.
Around him on the offense.
And staying in the zone, staying in the zone, staying in the zone, staying in the zone. Right.
And he has a higher ceiling of talent.
Thanks for the call, Ben. I would say the body of work is still very small, although Jordan Love appears in the second half of the season to have had a hell of a season. And it's remarkable that they can find the guy after the guy after the guy. And I'm not taking anything away from Jordan Love, but man, have we seen a lot more of Dak than Jordan. That's just, to me, not a fair fight right now.
Yeah, I mean, the body of work is, you talk about a remarkably small sample size.
Yeah.
I don't think we just cannot fully. I mean, Dak has been through so much and been scrutinized so much more over so more years. Right now, it's not a fair comparison, and the expectations on the shoulders of Dak right now, it ain't a fair fight.
Of course, one more playoff win for Jordan Love, and he ties Dak as far as total playoff wins.
Here we go. And he may end up being the better quarterback. I don't know. I mean, we are also insulting Dak on a season where, again, he was in the MVP conversation the entire season and had a hell of a season. So it's a weird season to be insulting Dak. It came down to one game. But to pull the body of work and say, oh, no, Jordan Love's definitely better. Like, I don't know that. But that's more about Jordan Love.
Makes the catch into the end zone. Touchdown, Jawan Johnson. 11-yard strike. Taxi is rolling. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
You can't decipher it comparing to the guy who we have seen the
1 touchdown, 1 pick.
on his shoulders season after season after season in Dak Prescott. We'll know more throughout Jordan Love's career, and maybe he ends up being the better quarterback. It is way too soon to tell. Certainly that team got the better of the Dallas Cowboys, though, when it comes to this postseason. We're going to continue to get better here on Amber and Ian, because your phone calls are helping us do that. 888-SAY-ESPN. We will continue to get to your phone calls next. This is ESPN Radio. You can also always listen to it on the ESPN app. Huge breaking news that Mike McCarthy is the Dallas Cowboys head coach as we head into next season. Jerry Jones is not making a change. That news has rocked us. Ian Fitzsimmons, Amber Wilson, Ian Fitzsimmons here with you on Amber and Ian. Amber and Ian presented by Progressive Insurance. Particularly you. You were very surprised as a Dallas resident by this news.
Yeah, and for anybody just tuning in, the reason I'm so surprised is you go back to training camp out in Oxnard, California, where the strawberry fields will wake you up in the morning. Trust me, it's not because of the smell of strawberries. It's the stuff they get to make the strawberries grow. That manure, I mean, it just firm. I mean, it's it'll drop a donkey at 40 yards.
I don't think I needed to. Like, I don't know if I needed that. That's not really a visual per se, but whatever the version of that is for
it's a sense.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to think about that. I like strawberries.
When you go out, anytime I say Oxnard, California, that is the first thing that comes to mind, having covered the Cowboy training camps there for many, many years. So, trust me, if you ever go, the strawberry fields, they'll wake you up in the morning, I promise you. And then you head to the rudder room and kick back and enjoy. Anyway, you go back to Jerry Jones at training camp out in Oxnard, and he sounded profoundly confident. And you could tell that he truly believed, rightly so, that this is a team that was built to make a deep playoff. You end up as a 2 seed. You win the division. You are 16-0 at home. You'll have 16 games. You're a touchdown favorite against a quarterback starting in his first postseason game, even though he's been red hot since week 9, right? But 18 touchdowns to 1 pick, youngest team in the postseason, and you get destroyed, embarrassed. Your pants were pulled down, and your mama gave you a spanking.
Ow!
That's exactly what happened at AT&T Stadium at Jerry World. And then after the game, he's talking about how he can't comprehend what he just saw. That's why, because of what the expectations were, how it laid out perfectly for the Cowboys to make a run, and it ended that way, coupled with, all right, you beat Tampa Bay last year. That was a bad Tampa team, right? But then you get bounced in the division round. The previous year, you're one and done. And poor clock management against Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners 3 years ago. But the expectations this year, to the way it finished, that's why I am shocked that Jerry Jones made the decision to keep Mike. That he did it because of everything I just laid out.
I am shocked because Jerry Jones canceled his radio appearances. And when he started canceling media appearances, I thought Mike McCarthy's done. Because I've never known Jerry to shy away from a microphone. And I thought that would be the only reason if he was making a big decision and he wanted some privacy while he made that decision. Well, I guess he did make a big decision, but the decision was just to retain Mike McCarthy into the final year of his deal. 888 Say ESPN. Mo has been hanging on for us from Texas. Hey, Mo, you're in Texas. What's your reaction?
Yes, appreciate the call. I appreciate y'all taking it. But, since we're speaking on this, I would like for y'all to kind of, like, especially for Ian, I would, from a coach's point of view. Now, I coach Pee Wee football. I coach high school football. So from a coach's point of view, I wanted y'all to kind of reiterate on what we're going through now. We can have 2 a day, 3 a days, and we draw plays, and the players are supposed to execute the plays like they are drawn up and how they do it in practice, okay? So if these players aren't living up to their expectations and knowing that they know the playbook, if they're not playing the plays like they're going to be, like they're drawn up, then we have a problem. So everybody's putting the blame on the coaches. The coaches are just the ones that are getting you better and executing the plays so that you can win a game. Now, whether they ran right or they ran wrong, now when you run them wrong, this is what happens.
Well, Mo, we have talked about for 3 days how this is a total team debacle for the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak had his worst game of the year on the biggest stage of the year. And not just Dak, but that defense also. And Dan Quinn, by the way, kept 2 high safeties when Aaron Jones was running it down your throat.
Really?
He never adjusted. So it's not just on the offensive side, which is Mike McCarthy's, but the defense as well. Hell, in special teams, you're doinking extra points off the upright. It was a total team collapse, Mo.
Yes, sir.
But you can't fire 53 guys.
Yes, sir.
You cannot do that.
Yes, sir. That's the point I'm trying to make to you. Everybody's
We've talked about
the coaches. It's not the coaches. I understand that, but it starts from the bottom and it works your way to the top. There's other people. You got Dan Quinn, everybody else. You got quarterback coaches. You got defensive coaches. You got strong safety coaches. You got different coaches. I understand, but being that you're the head coach, everybody's pointing the finger at the head coach, and it's the players. I understand we can't fire everybody, but it's the one. Comes down to the one that you are, it's the offense that you are telling to run this team, which is Dak Prescott. He needs to go. I'm not a Cowboy fan, even though I live here, and God willing, people can laugh at me if they want to. I'm a Bronco fan, and I will be a Bronco fan till the wheels fall off, so everybody can have their laugh about it. But it makes me cringe every time someone says Cowboys and it's America's team. I don't know where that came from. I just wanted to make sure I express that. But I don't hate the Cowboys. I just don't like to hear all the conversation about it all the time.
Mo, thanks for the call. I appreciate you. A couple of things here. When it comes to the Dak Prescott portion of this conversation, it's harder, the truth is, to replace good or great quarterbacks, whatever you think of Dak. I don't think anybody thinks, especially coming off the season, that he's a terrible quarterback, right? Even though in a game he certainly had a terrible game. But it's harder to find good quarterbacks in the National Football League than, frankly, coaches, right? Coaches feel a bit more expendable in that regard. Also, Mo kept mentioning all the other coordinators and all the other position coaches.
What?
Staff, and we have seen Mike McCarthy make changes to that staff in the offseason. It will be interesting to see if Mike McCarthy makes a big change to that staff. But let's not forget, he ran Kellen Moore out of town and took over the play calling himself, right? He took over the offense himself. He wanted more of that control. And so it was going to come on his shoulders now more than ever this season because Mike McCarthy asked for that responsibility. He was going to go down with the ship. He was going to make sure he was the captain of it. And by the way, ship went down. Apparently Mike McCarthy didn't.
Great point and reminder on Kellen Moore because Mike McCarthy
Wait,
knew this was a prove-it year.
Oh, you gotta be fucking
He was
serious.
going to get blown up at the end of the year. He was going out with his boots on and running his offense. So that is a great reminder as to Kellen Moore being jettisoned, Mike McCarthy taking over play calling duties, and through the regular season, 9 out of 10 games, they shined. Look, Dak Prescott, for any quarterback who has started at least 16 games this year, Dak had the highest completion percentage at 69, nearly 70% but nearly 70% of his passes. He completed more passes than any other quarterback in the NFL, threw for more touchdowns than any other quarterback in the NFL, and what was, I think, third in passing yards in the NFL. Yet, when you had to have it in the postseason, he stunk. The team stunk.
Right.
And therefore,
in one game.
Yeah, but that's all that mattered when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys and the expectations going back to training camp. And then when you lose like that, and Jerry's reaction, again, that's why I'm surprised that he brought back Mike McCarthy. Can't emphasize it enough. Thrilled for Mike McCarthy to be able to run it back. And look, Dak's going to be thrilled because he doesn't have to learn a new system in a proven year. So that's another part of this thing. But man, again, it's one of those moments with Jerry where you when you think he's going to zig, he zags, and that kind of sums up Jerry Jones.
And maybe that connection there that you just said with Dak being in a prove-it year because he's going into the final year of his deal, unless Jerry hands him an extension, which would be pretty reasonable, frankly, just to even restructure that final deal because of the cap hit, even if it was a short extension. Nevertheless, he's going into the final year of his deal. McCarthy's going into the final year of his deal. Maybe Jerry Jones is thinking, hey, these two guys are linked. I'm going to give them one more chance together, and they're both gone. Everyone's gone if it doesn't work. Perhaps that's what Jerry Jones is thinking. I don't know. What I do know is it's very hard to find quarterbacks in the National Football League that can come anywhere near those stats that Dak achieved this regular season. So if I was an owner, I would think twice before I moved on, frankly, from Dak Prescott. 888 say ESPN. Harry is calling us from OKC. You've got the floor, Harry.
What's up, guys? How are y'all doing?
Oh, we're good. Go ahead.
I love the Mike McCarthy. I love the Mike McCarthy play. I really do. I'm kind of shocked at the way that it happened with the Michigan Harbaugh, with the opportunity, circle that word, opportunity to bring either Nick Saban out of retirement or to the opportunity to bring Bill Belichick into Dallas. With all that being said, I am very, very happy with the decision to keep him. And I think that the NFL should be, because you talked about it in that one, in last year's playoff win. Remind me, Ian, who was the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that game?
Yeah, it was Tom Brady as a shell of himself.
Hey, it was Tom Brady. The Dallas Cowboys knocked Tom Brady out of the playoffs.
I can just watch.
Hold on a minute. Tom Brady had the worst offensive line he's ever had in his life. Absolutely no running game. Leonard Fournette on a flat tire, and you're gonna chalk that up as a feather in your cap? Are you kidding me? Come on, bro. Get out. And Nick Saban, opportunity to bring Nick Saban back to the NFL. You have.
I like that conversation. I know you dismissed it right when he said it because I saw the look on your face. Nick Saban was very clear. He's retiring from college football.
Ain't no way.
He's wanted to do the NFL thing before. Listen, as a Dolphins fan, I don't recommend it, but he's wanted to do it before. We're still angry at him with how he left that.
There's a better chance that 3 supermodels walk in my front door and say, hey, you want to go out tonight, than Nick Saban come to the Dallas.
Hey, yo!
Well, that might be true. That portion of it might be true for numerous reasons, that analogy. 888 say ESPN. We will continue to rock with your phone calls, all the reaction to Mike McCarthy. He is remaining as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Lots of reaction tonight as we got the news from Adam Schefter. Mike McCarthy is staying as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. We've been reacting to this news. If you missed anything here on Amber and Ian, check out the podcast on
Yes, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 25, down to the line.
As well, Amber Wilson at Amber W Sports. 888 say ESPN. We appreciate all of you. You guys have been blowing us up tonight. We love when you all join the conversation. Thanks for your patience as well, as I know some of you have hung out on hold for a long time. Josh is calling us from Austin, Texas. He's been patient. Hey, Josh, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
You know, I've been listening to your show and a bunch of other shows, and it blows me away on how all of us Cowboy fans are shocked at the result of the season and how this thing ended against the Packers. The reality is that we only have 2 notable wins this year. One of them against the Eagles and one of them against the Lions. And we know what the Eagles were, and the Lions, we know we lost that.
All right, you can't say that, but that was a good call right up until that point, Josh. Just gonna need you to color within the lines there
I wanted
a
to
little
hear
bit.
the point. I mean, he was about to deliver the home run, right? I mean,
no, we don't make the rules around here. We gotta dump you if you do that. We gotta dump the call. We have no choice.
Like the last leg of the parlay.
Yes. If we were the McAfee show, one day when Amber and Ian are as big as Pat McAfee is, we will be able to allow you. Trust me, I will be doing that all over the airwaves as well, but I ain't it yet. I ain't McAfee yet. Got to work my way up. None of us are. We got to work our way up there. So right now we got to dump you. But yes, to his point, Ian, I think the point he was trying to make is that they hadn't beat good teams, that it was a little bit of a fool's gold there, that 12-win record that we saw from them. I ain't going to do that to the Dallas Cowboys because I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, and I was tired of that narrative about us.
What the fuck?
I'm just so disappointed he couldn't deliver the end right there. I mean, I really wanted to hear it. But oh well.
Speaking of the Dolphins, though.
No. Not yet. Not yet.
Why are we
time for one more? Yeah, let's get one more. Then we'll get into a wait here. Yeah. But yeah, hold on there, Coach. Hold on.
Triple H Yasmin, we're busy over here. Mark is calling us from New Mexico. Thanks for the call, Mark. The floor is yours.
Thank you guys for accepting my call. I just wanted to say tonight, as a diehard Cowboy fan since 1989, I understand the move that Jerry made. I'm actually happy with it. Watched the game with a buddy of mine, and at the end of it, he was just completely fed up as a Cowboy fan.
Yes, Wilson.
What ended up happening is this next year is going to be for Dak and McCarthy to prove it.
And one throw, and my quarterback's back in the zone.
On the other hand, I expect him to take a head coaching job somewhere else. So that's what I expected out of that. When the news hit today, my buddy called me furious, telling me, you know, he's just done as a Cowboy fan because it seems like Jerry just isn't into wanting to win a Super Bowl the way he says he does. But I believe the complete opposite. And being a Cowboy fan for so long, I believe that this is the first time in a long time I've seen Jerry make a really good scout decision on what needs to happen in the future. I mean, just one more year, what is it going to be, you know, because Dak learning a new system can be blamed on a new head coach.
Oh my fucking God.
I think he's just going to let them run it back and see what happens from there.
Well, and arguably, you know, Dak already was under those changes, obviously, with the departure of Kellen Moore and going to Mike McCarthy taking over the play calling there, Ian. And if you're Jerry Jones, you're looking at it and seeing that Dak had an excellent season overall. Again, the playoffs notwithstanding, a playoff game, but otherwise, the body of work. I mean, Ian rattled off the statistics earlier. They're pretty inarguable. They're one of the best quarterbacks in the league all season long, and a quarterback that was squarely in the MVP conversation for most of the season. So do you want to go ahead and switch everything on him now, or do you want to see how it plays out, I guess, one more season with Mike McCarthy on an expiring deal and perhaps Dak Prescott on an expiring deal as well if you don't offer extensions?
Yeah, look, I mean, he completely
Shut the fuck up, we're winning.
And for anybody who started at least 16 games, I was number one as far as completion percentage. He led the league in touchdown passes. He was top 3 in yards, you know, passing. I mean, he had the most completions of any quarterback in the league in the regular season. The problem is he stunk when he got to the postseason, and that's all that matters. I mean, right now, where Jerry is, and as far as his mental makeup, he wants that next Lombardi. He hasn't come close to it, hasn't sniffed it since 1996. I mean, they've had 8 one-and-dones.
he doesn't want it so bad that he's willing to make changes. Or either that, or he believes that Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott is the pairing to get him.
And that's why I can't emphasize this enough. Thrilled for Mike McCarthy staying and being able to run it back. But it's the tone that Jerry
Thank you.
in at training camp to his reaction of I can't comprehend what I just saw after that debacle on Sunday afternoon in his palace. That's why I'm surprised that he decided to bring Mike McCarthy.
All right, let's get one more in here quick. Ben is calling us from Arizona. Ben, give me about 30 seconds. What do you got?
Hey, so just real quick, I'm going to piggyback off of what... Oh, thanks for my call, by the way. But anyways, I'm going to piggyback off what that guy Josh was saying earlier, who got disconnected, unfortunately. Honestly, they haven't won any meaningful games, and we could talk about all Dak's stats as long as we want, but the fact is, I mean, you can put up as many stats as you want against the Commanders and the Giants and yada, 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 but Dak's not going to bring you anything. He's going to put you in Kirk Cousins purgatory, and you're not going to win anything for the entirety of his career there. You have to move on from him, or you can just keep moving along with Dak and, you're getting those, stats as good as possible for him, but you won't bring any Lombardi home with Dak.
I mean, and thanks for the call.
Why?
I did just see Jared Goff win a playoff game and Baker Mayfield win a playoff game, right? And everyone's out on Dak Prescott, a guy who's been squarely in the MVP conversation. And that, it just seems strange to me. We've seen quarterbacks with far lesser resumes that have huge resurgences of their careers when they end up other places. Ian, people give up on that position really quickly in the NFL. But also, who are you getting to replace Dak?
That's the kick right there. Like, Dak's not going anywhere. One, he's got a no-trade clause in his contract. You can't franchise tag him if he plays out his contract. That's also his contract. So if he finishes
What the fuck?
on the final year of his current massive deal, and you can't franchise tag him. He had that written in, which was brilliant. So he's on a lame duck year, last year of a contract. Mike McCarthy's on his last year of his contract. I'm fascinated to see what happens. And, oh, by the way, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Dallas time, at the Star in Frisco, that spaceship, state-of-the-art practice facility that Jerry built, Mike McCarthy, his annual end-of-year presser, about 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. Can't wait to hear how that goes.
Yeah. We will all be tuned into that. Thank you for mentioning that. I mean, what do you do if you do have some sort of succession plan in the future? Dak, like everybody always wants to get rid of the guy. Okay, but where are you going? Where are you going? You don't have a top 3 pick in this draft. You're too good. Where are you going to get the next? Caleb Williams is not walking into your franchise, Dallas. Where are you going that's going to be better than Dak?
Where are you going with your avatar for Twitter or Instagram?
I'm trying to ignore that. I'm trying to ignore that conversation. I'm trying to leave James as little time as possible so he can't even get to it.
James, what do we got? Who was the winner? Who was the winner?
You lucked out because you don't get the Dolphin frauds Photoshop that Jerry made, unfortunately. So it looks like it's going to be Andy Reid's mustache.
Son of a...
So I'm going to have to change my Twitter profile picture, my X profile picture, to Andy Reid's mustache because my Miami Dolphins lost to James Steele's Kansas City Chiefs for 1 week. It will be Reid's glorious frozen mustache, also glorious game night coming up.
I hate the fact it doesn't go to the next series of shows almost until you always have to go manually do it. That shit's annoying as hell. I'm mad I woke up late today.
You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Gotta get RT back in the zone.
At Kroger, shopping with pickup and delivery is the same as shopping in-store. Same low prices, deals, and rewards.
Bruh.
Same high-quality items. It's one small click for groceries, one big win for busy families everywhere. Start your cart today at Kroger.com. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Save big on your favorites.
That means
Buy
you're too
5 or
fucking
more,
slow,
save $1
bro.
each sales. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stuttgart's podcast.
We pride ourselves here on messy, and I suspect
that this hour will be even a little extra messy by our standards. The only reason we pride ourselves on it is because we don't have any other choices. I'm in New York.
The Big Apple.
I'm here. Thank you, Stugatz.
You got it.
Very comfortable in that seat very quickly. I am here to report.
Okay, TS first NFL touchdown.
But COVID is back. Everybody in the airport and on the airplane was coughing. I was in a giant tube of disease coming over here. Everyone around me is phlegmy, coughing. And as I land here, Stugatz, and I do love our swampy, bejeweled dumpster in Miami, everyone in New York is saying this is the coldest it's been here in a very long time.
That's funny. It's normally cold in New York, but it hasn't snowed in like 700 days. It finally snowed this past weekend. So
it is pretty deeply unpleasant. You seem to be very comfortable in that chair. I'm worried. I had to hover over the proceedings because I'm worried that left to his own devices, Stugatz will spend all 3 hours today and all 3 hours tomorrow just talking about Mike McCarthy returning to the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't feel like Tony, you think you want him to be doing that? This is what you want to be talking about?
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal, Daniel, because Bill Belichick just left out, out in the cold all of a sudden. Is there maybe a backdoor deal? Who knows?
Out in the cold?
Yeah.
You think Bill Belichick's going to be looking for work, do you? You think he's going to have a hard time finding employment?
Look, his best deal was with Dallas, and now Jerry is like basically saying to cover his own ass, hey, yeah, Mike McCarthy's coming back. I wouldn't believe it so fast.
You said, Stugatz, it's a perfect fit, and it sort of ignores that if Jerry Jones is in charge, Bill Belichick isn't.
It's a perfect fit if Jerry Jones were willing to hire Bill Belichick, but Jerry
Jones weren't Jerry Jones, is what you're saying.
Yes,
if Jerry Jones were someone other than Jerry Jones.
Yeah, but do me a favor. Don't sell me on you'll win at all costs, because you won't. You won't, because you won't hire Bill Belichick. If you wanted to win at all costs, you would hire the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. He's there. He's waiting. He's probably wanting to take that job. And Jerry Jones does not want to give up any of his power to get a guy that will help him win a Super Bowl, Dan. It's odd. It's very odd.
This is what's not odd about it, and it's been pretty consistent since the 90s. Jerry Jones understands that it's the circus. He understands that he doesn't have to win in order to be the most relevant brand in the sport. He doesn't have to actually win playoff games to get 40 million people to watch his game against the Packers, even though his team hasn't actually been excellent in a really long time. Jerry Jones likes being in the middle of the spectacle. Winning, I know he can say all he wants about wanting to win above all costs, Stugatz, but that's in no way true. He wants to be in control above all costs and wants to be the reason for winning and wants to look like he's the reason for winning, and that becomes more difficult if you bring in someone like Bill Belichick.
Well, then stop saying it, because you're right. You don't want to win at all costs, so stop saying you want to win at all costs. No. You want to win your way. You want to win the Jerry way. You want to win with Jason Garrett or Mike McCarthy. And it hasn't worked thus far. And so, Dan, it's just such a rare thing to have these two coaches available to just about any team that wants them. Jim Harbaugh and Bill Belichick. They give you an advantage. They give you the best chance to win a Super Bowl. And the fact that Jerry Jones does not want one of those guys because he wants Mike McCarthy back for another season is absurd.
Can you guys put me in the video behind Stugatz so that I can just sort of hover above him and over his shoulder? Thank you. I like that look better, just sort of keeping an eye on him. Because, and I want to look at his browser, and I want to be able to see what it is that he's doing during the show to just inspect, because I suspect while I'm in New York for a couple of days here handling some Metal Art stuff, that Stugatz will attempt to get unruly. But I wanted to begin with something here. I do not know the Texas basketball coach, Rodney Terry, but you know how people get, look at how Tony smiles. You know how people get really emotional with classlessness in sports, and Mike Ryan gets infuriated when Rutgers does the upside down U, which is, I think we can all admit, the lowest point in University of Miami sports history.
Not even close.
They've been lower, Dan.
Not even close. FIU and Middle Tennessee State made those upside down U's.
Now, when Rutgers does it to you, Rutgers is over the last 100 years in Division I. In Division I, I can make the argument that Rutgers is as bad as any program ever. I know they've been better over the last 5
years. Like number 2 in the nation. There was like a number 1 versus 2 USF Rutgers game
with Schiano the first pass.
You're going to make me look this up.
There is no worse feeling than Middle Tennessee State and FIU doing an upside-down U in your direction. As someone that's experienced all three, I fancy you an expert as well. But trust me, you do not know which hit me worse out of those three, better than I do.
Okay, well, no, but that's what hit you worse. And I understand that you're the king of the narcissist, but it's not what hit me worse, because I have watched Rutgers
What the hell?
football. I understand that Greg Schiano came and gave them some credibility by buying Tony Soprano and having him do some marketing.
RFE.
They had a run. I mean,
they did. They have had a run recently. I will agree with you. But let's look at what it is that happened with Rodney Terry, and get me the sound of Draymond talking about Rodney. Because Rodney Terry was pissed in the handshake line after UCF, because UCF, thank you, Lucy, was doing the upside down horns. And he just came player by player, shaking their hand and reprimanding them and telling them, don't do that classless shit. What did you guys think of that?
All right, let's play.
It was amazing.
Let's play the video for the uninitiated, even though Dan did a good job of setting that up. Let's go ahead and trigger the video so you can see exactly what happened here.
One by one, he went handshake. I mean, he did it to their face. One by one, the reprimand.
How about you don't tell me what to do? I mean, how's that sound?
How about you don't blow a 17-point lead at home to a team that just joined the Big 12, and you won't get the horns down on you, Rodney.
Yeah, I can't accept takes on this from people who support schools that don't have a hand gesture, because you really don't know what it lands like until you do. Because what someone is doing when they do your hand gesture, whether it's the USC Fight On, or the Hook'em Horns, or the NC State Wolfpack, or the U, not every school has these things. So when you're doing that, you're essentially giving them the middle finger. And no one's going to respond well to a middle finger. It does not feel good. You get a middle finger
to be on the receiving end.
Because what a middle finger is, it's FU. So when someone does a hand gesture like that, it's an FU. And I think you're perfectly right to take exception to it.
No, because the more triggered you get by it, the more people are going to do it, and then
you don't have a hand gesture, Jess. I can't do the Fighting Irish knuckles upside down. All I can do is give you the finger.
Does Clemson have?
It doesn't bother you.
Does Clemson have one? I mean,
no. I can't do paws down. I can't do an upside down cross for Dabo. Like, these are not things.
Run up the hill.
Does Iowa have one?
No, we don't, but our own head coach gives us the middle finger all the time.
The best part about it is
just scoring,
what are the schools that have hand gestures? Because off the top of my head, Texas and Miami are the ones that I think of. I don't think...
Yeah, Fight On for USC. I mean, there's hand gestures that are impossible to do upside down. Like the war chant, the Seminole war chant, all I can do to add a flourish to it is maybe add a middle finger, which I've done in private. And I don't feel good about myself. I can't do an upside down gator chomp. That's not something that looks cool.
Wait, so you're alone in your house and you have done this? Like, explain that.
I'm at games. I'm like, with a middle finger. Because it's a class. It's because I know how it feels when it gets done to me. And it sets me off. I don't like it. And I'm not... Everyone's telling me to stop and be chill. You guys don't have hand gestures. You don't know. You haven't seen it. Miss this house and miss that house.
Broadcast the goddamn ball!
One of my favorite things from childhood, and I believe my father's greatest act of rebellion, is that when he would drive past speed traps, and I'd be horrified by this because my father was all about the rules, he would give the middle finger to police officers, but only low enough under the window to be blocked by the car door. So it was
courageous. I mean,
yes, not exactly courageous.
That's what Whitty does. I mean,
I have heard from some people here referring to us as Levitard's Anglo delegation because of how poorly we talked about swag surfing. and objecting to Taylor Swift's swag surfing during the Kansas City Miami game. And I am told that we have some video here because I heard Mike Ryan when I did it on the Zoom on Monday when we were at home for Martin Luther King Day. I heard Mike groan, "Oh no," when I particularly was doing the swag surfing. But let's just take a look. This was two Americas. My black friends have pointed out to me that me, Chris Whittingham, and Chris Cody shouldn't have been doing
Don't put
this
me in your
together.
category.
Well, okay, let's see what we have here.
A Zoom square of 4 people?
Yeah.
Swag.
Oh God, I've never felt whiter.
Mine's fine.
The whiter. God, Jesus.
It's fun though. It is. You're right.
Yeah, no,
Dave.
you don't find
Listen.
joy in others having good. What happened, Mike?
It's forced the second go around.
What on earth was Witty doing?
Yeah, Witty's the
He
worst.
was doing like a hands in the air kind of.
He was being witty.
Air.
Four times and
what?
then on a different person.
I saw Dan, but Witty waving it around like he just don't care was.
Well, I'll play it again.
unsettling.
All I was doing is Taylor Swift in the middle of her started
We can do it without sound. Just loop this as Dan's talking about what's going through his mind because he's going to defend himself saying that he was parodying Taylor Swift.
What is that?
Taylor didn't do that.
No, she, in the middle of it, she grabbed at her head. She did. And so I just did that 10 times. But I must admit to that being the first time I had seen swag surfing of any kind.
Witty. Oh, God. It's terrible.
I nailed it. I mean,
Was Witty saying whoop, there it is?
You guys do me the favor here as we head to break. Why doesn't the shipping container, why don't you do it for us so that you can show us how to do that correctly? And since you guys are professional critics, and you're right to make fun of us, but go ahead. Feel free to show us everything you got in you. Is Tony the only one who can do it? The rest of you are just going to sit
I'm not taking this bait.
I ain't done
The internet is forever.
Cowards.
I see how
critics.
yours landed. Tony's doing it well.
Cowards.
I co-signed Tony's flag surf right there. That speaks for us all.
Oh, it's so lonely. I feel so bad for you, Tony.
He doesn't
You're
care.
a committed teammate.
No, and also you're limited by the Zoom screen too, because your arms need to be way out there, and that doesn't present well. I'm giving you an excuse that you're not taking because you're just hanging on to this Taylor Swift.
It's a communal dance too. Like you need people next to you to like do the swag surf with you. Because remember,
So
you're
you
supposed
lean
to
on
be
others.
on a surfboard, guys. Not whatever this was, whatever Dan was doing. I don't know what.
Macarena. Dan, you want redemption? You want to try again?
I'm enjoying the rest of you, though, because look at you, all professional critics, but then when you're asked to do better, none of you even attempt.
What else is new, Dan?
Tony killed it.
Dan, what else is new? I do this for you guys all the time, and everybody just stands there and watches me like some sort of clown.
Stugotz here from my friends over at Simply Safe. Been telling you about them for years. Why? I have had their home security system in my house for many, many years, protecting both me and my family. I would not recommend anyone else. In fact, they were named Best Home Security of 2023 by U.S. News and World Report. Simply Safe is comprehensive protection for the whole home, detecting and alerting you not only to break-in, but fires, floods, and other threats to your home, getting you the help you need. Simply Safe prioritizes your privacy. That's why their indoor security cameras are the
Guys,
only
just
ones
fucking
on the
tap
market
before I throw
with
this
visible
against the
privacy
wall.
shutters to ensure your privacy 24/7. Try Simply Safe for 60 days, risk-free. If you don't love it, return your system for a full refund. Keep your home and family safer than ever in the new year. As a listener, you can save 20% on your new system with Fast Protect monitoring by visiting simplysafe.com/DLB. Customize your system in just minutes. That's simplysafe.com/DLB. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Don Lebatard, Hensley Jansen. I got to be careful here. What did I just do there? You start again. Stugotz is the closer. Comes in, ninth inning, closes the game out. His name is Kenley Jansen. He has blamed his recent.
This is the Don Lebatard Show
Again.
with the Stugotz.
Presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code DAN, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void or prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
Jessica is pretty mad, and she has reason to be, Stugotz, because David Sampson evidently, at the very least, came on yesterday and misrepresented the movie The Mission, which he sold it well by saying someone on a religious mission went to an island that is secluded where most people aren't even allowed. And he suggested, or no, he said flatly, that those people were savages who were cannibals. And Jessica says that that's just a total misrepresentation of that movie. And I don't understand how David Sampson can watch and review a movie with us and misrepresent something that flagrantly.
Yeah, well, first of all, I objected at the time to his use of the word savages, but I didn't say anything on air because I feel like every time I say anything on air against David, people just harass me. So I was like, I'll keep this to myself. So then I went home and I watched the movie. Wow, did he misrepresent the entire purpose?
Yes!
Go watch this. It's on Hulu. It's
15, 20.
It's very good.
And the deal's in the side! Fuck you, David Tepper! Fuck
Gave on the show and was like, they hate this guy.
I mean, does it imply it though? Is it implied?
No, it's not. You should just watch the documentary. I won't do it justice because there's a lot going on with the story and why this guy went there and who these people are. But yeah, they didn't eat him. There's actually no, to this day, like, they don't know what happened to this guy's body or how he died because this is a group of people that hasn't been contacted by people intentionally. They've been
You know, Jess said to this day, and I was watching Gronk on Fox NFL Sunday, and I've noticed that that's a verbal tick that he uses to make himself sound smart. He just kind of does synonyms. A synonym, Gronk, is something that's a different word that is the same thing that you mean. But he was saying to this day to like end every sentence. And one time he used it for CJ Stroud, and he's still good to this day. I'm like, he's a rookie. Like, what, to this day? What are you talking about? Just keep your eye on that. Gronk loves to this day.
Jessica, I was surprised to hear.
Down thing, I guess.
I'm surprised to hear that when you say anything that disagrees with David Sampson, that people harass you. Usually, it's David Sampson who's getting harassed.
What? You're surprised?
You guys, I am surprised by that. Yes, because why would people side with David Sampson over you? My experience with our audience is that they do not side with
Why did
David
I don't have to
Sampson
time out? So I didn't call time out.
The penis.
Yeah, the penis.
Are you being serious?
I am being serious.
He is being serious.
No, it's the penis.
Yeah, it's because she's a woman, Dan.
She's a woman.
That's the only reason? Okay, very good.
Yes. Dan, I have a question for you. If you were in a situation where you were forced to eat somebody, would you do it?
I mean, what kind of question is that?
It's a fair question. Yeah, it's a good question.
If it's the last stop on survival, like
it's
I
the
can't
movie
imagine.
Alive. It's the airplane, the soccer team that crashes in the Andes. They're forced to eat one another. I'm just asking you, if we were on a trip, I don't know, to Vegas for the Super Bowl, and the plane went down, and we were on a deserted island, would you start staring at me or Chris or Jess or Mike or somebody?
Quite a flight path.
Weird path.
After 45 days, I'm just saying.
I am assuming that anyone listening to this, their answer to this question would be the same as my answer to this question, which is sitting here today, now, to this day, you cannot imagine under any circumstances eating another human being until you are starving to death, and then it requires your survival, and the desperation of whatever that is where it is you get to, because the strongest instinct is survival, and it will knock down all of your etiquette and all of your politeness, and what used to disgust you might be something that you choose in order to survive. Yes.
So yes.
I would prefer death to eating Stugats. Yes, particularly Stugats. I don't imagine
you would die if you ate me.
There is a desperation that would allow me to eat that nicotine-soaked body of his under every circumstance. But let me circle back around here. I want to play some sound here from a champion, because I do believe that I have some blind spots about where hatred resides in this country and who becomes an avatar or a symbol for others, because he speaks his truth, which is a hateful truth, and then people gather behind and see some sort of bravery in a cancel climate because they just hate others and they want permission to hate others. And therefore, David Sampson having a penis makes our audience side with him, even if Jessica is making sense over someone who's very unpopular on our show. Sean Strickland is the middleweight champion in the UFC, Stugat. And this sport, and I've said this before, this sport is the gutter. It is a very bad, ugly business, and it is now being run by a person in Dana White who allows all of this to go on and takes the lane of profiting, of allowing his champion to speak this way in a press conference where he's wearing a shirt. I believe the shirt says "Women in the Kitchen and Guns in Every Hand," I believe is the shirt that he is wearing. And then listen to how he responds. This is a champion, Stugotz. This is a face of your sport. The sport does not have that many stars at the moment, and this guy is one of your champions. And I simply cannot imagine in football, in baseball, in basketball. I mean, hockey has an undercurrent of some of this, but it's not like this. I cannot imagine a modern athlete champion in a sport that people are covering like it's a real sport, talking like this without a reaction from the public and a backlash.
We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I...
Oh, look, another I'm saying in the swamp, you guys, a swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and then someone...
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
I had the chance to come back with a more diverse...
Are you gay?
Could I get an answer?
Well, I'm asking, this is a part of, are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, yeah, son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh man, well, dude, you're a weak man, dude. You're part of the problem. You elected Justin Trudeau. Like, when he sees the bank accounts, like, you're just pathetic. And the fact that you have no backbone and has he shut down your country and sees bank accounts,
bruh,
like that, go yourself. Move the on, man.
That really answered the question, but I did want to ask also things you said about the trans community. You said this past October when they announced the Bud Light sponsorship that you go so hard on Bud Light in your next fight, they'll have to accept me or denounce me when they know what, and they'll know what they stand for.
This guy's like that. This Canadian's not that Canadian.
Are you still going to use your fight time to kind of speak on that?
Here's the thing about Bud Light. 10 years ago, to be trans was a mental illness, and now all of a sudden, people like you have weaseled your way in the world. You are an infection. You are the definition of weakness. Everything that is wrong with the world is because of you. And the best thing is the world's not buying it. The world's not buying your peddling. The world is not saying, you know what?
God damn, Strickland, you're a sick fuck.
The world's not saying that. The world's saying, no.
I hope you die.
I don't want my kids being taught about, who they could. I don't want my kids being taught about, their sexual preference. Like, dude, this guy is the enemy. You want to look at the enemy to our world? It's that motherfucker right there.
Now, obviously, that's hateful. Obviously, it needs to be denounced. Obviously, it's appalling. But in that audience, Stugotz, that's being trafficked in. Now, I'm not saying it's true of everyone in that audience, but the leader in that sport allows that. The leader in that sport prides himself on everyone can say what they want. There will be no punishments here. And if there are no punishments here, as there would be anywhere else in legitimized sports, then without consequences, you're just allowing the precedent of that continuing. And my guess is, Tony, you can speak to this, my guess is that Dana White will only be upset that he went near the Bud Light stuff, that's the only place that he'll get bothered.
Yeah, Sean Strickland has been using language like this for a long time. It's just he's always kind of been the guy who's 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th ranked, so you don't really hear from him. All of a sudden, his ascension into superstardom with Busy beating Israel Adesanya has put him in the limelight where a lot of his words now are getting shown to people across multiple social medias. Like, Sean is the guy that speaks whatever is on his mind, as you can see. Like, this is some of the lighter stuff, by the way. If you actually
That's the lighter stuff?
Yes,
that's one of the worst sound clips we've ever played on this show.
In a press conference with Dricus du Plessis, who he's fighting this Saturday, which is basically the only fight on the card that matters, Dan. I think that's an important distinction here because nobody else on that card is really going to buy pay-per-views. People are not going to want to see them. This back and forth between Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland is why you're buying this fight. So when you have Sean Strickland going up there and talking, yeah, they're going to kind of give him carte blanche because they need to sell this fight.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan. I love football, and I love Miller Lite. Why do I love Miller Lite? Well, some good flavor, fact
400 yards,
that
same thing,
it tastes
Richardson.
like beer, the fact that when I'm having a Miller Lite, I don't have to think for 1 second about the beer that I'm drinking.
I hate
And I
this
know
stupid
that it's only
ad.
96 calories. I think that Larry Fitzgerald
And the sun. Oh, the sun.
Who is there?
Don Lebatard. Oh, I think Larry Fitzgerald's on the green right there. Stugats.
That's Alfonso Ribeiro.
How
do you think that Larry Fitzgerald?
And the sun.
Oh, the sun.
Oh, the sun.
To be fair, to be fair,
All right, whatever.
Alfonso Ribeiro has a great ass.
This is the Dan Lebatard
Hey,
Show
yo.
with the Stugats.
Why? Why do we do this? Why we do this with Colby Covington? This is really like also the only way we approach mixed martial arts, and it's not that interesting of a topic to me. It's like, how does Dana White allow this? We know where Dana White's politics reside. He's spoken articulately, honestly, on why he allows this stuff. The fact that we played that clip, which I agree, Chris, that's as hateful a clip as I've heard on this show. And I was aware of it. I saw quotes of it.
He's a young
I
guy,
wasn't
so
prepared
I'm
for
trying to give him a
how I would feel
long-term
after
deal.
seeing 2 minutes of it. That guy. Him. He's a stupid motherfucker who is hateful. And the fact that he's not suspended, where he'd be suspended in any other sport, hell, forget sport. In most companies, that shit would at the very least get you suspended, is an indictment on that company. It's publicly traded, by the way. So Endeavor and TKO, you should answer for this in ways that he hasn't had to in other incarnations of this sport.
That's why you platform it, though, Mike. The people need to hear. We're all in our silos. We're all speaking to our own people with our own set of facts. This stuff, it can't
I
just
don't need,
exist.
Dan, I will stop you right there. I don't need Sean Strickland to let me know that there's hate in this world. I open up Twitter for that. I don't. Mike, at a certain point, you gotta say, that guy.
And that's fine, but that's where the discourse is in this country right now. Where
You don't think that was saying F you to everybody else? That's not a discourse. That's pure hate.
Mike, you cannot tell me, as many people do, I don't want politics with my sports, and continually go to athletes and champions for their opinions on things. Listen to it from LeBron James, and people object to it there and tell him to shut up and dribble, and then simply ignore when something like this is happening. I think it needs to see the light. It needs to, beyond the platform there that he's on, where it's normalized and it's more acceptable because he's speaking to his audience.
And we are a guilty party, Dan, and we are a guilty party in allowing this conflation of hate and politics. That right there is not politics.
But Mike, it can't
it's
be
become politics.
No, Mike.
That is pure hatred.
Mike, what Dan is saying, it is hatred. It's disgusting. But what Dan is saying is you can't want politics and sports mixed up, but it only be your politics.
And I'm telling you, it's not politics. Up until like 8 years ago, it wasn't politics. And we've allowed for it to be political. It is not. I know how he votes because we've given license to people to speak like this freely. And when I hear all their political beliefs encapsulated in that, it is not political in nature.
Mike, you say
it is hateful.
We've given license to speak this way freely. Not in sports we haven't. It's only in that sport. That it isn't across sports. You cannot speak that way. That's not, and furthermore, I would say that a good deal of MMA audience applauds the idea that in their sport, he can speak his mind that way in a way that his audience doesn't necessarily disagree with, hateful or not. And so as a principle, because you've done this before with Colby Covington, yes, what Tony just said at the end of that break, it is part of how you sell fights in the gutter. Boxing has always trafficked in the race stuff, and this is the natural evolution of the sport that has replaced boxing. It is part of what is used for profit in that sport. But what is your solution? To ignore it? Because I'm telling you.
Yeah, because I ignore it in my everyday life. I ignore it. I ignore it. I get bullshit on social media. I either block it, mute it. I can ignore it. because I don't want that infecting my life. I'm not better because I heard that clip. I'm angry. That has done nothing for me except make me
anger is
angry.
what leads. Anger is what leads movement toward change. You have to feel.
No. In fact, Dan, normalizing that kind of behavior and platforming it has brought about a change.
That's not
a change
normal.
where someone can speak like that freely. That's the change that has happened.
And here becomes the plight of the MMA fan, where it's like you love the sport because of in octagon stuff, right? You love the martial arts, you love the striking, you love all this stuff, but then you have to also, it's the art and artist. Can you separate the art from the artist? Of Sean Strickland in the octagon, outside of everything that he says and does, is an excellent fighter. And if you look at the story of how he's progressed, being knocked out 2 years ago to now being the champion, like his in octagon stuff is amazing, his turnaround is amazing, but yet we can't talk about that because of all the other shit that's happening around it. So it's tough for MMA fans where you're like, man, the stuff that's happening in the octagon is so excellent. There's such a high level of athleticism that you just can't talk about because this supersedes everything else. And again, this is just the buildup of selling the fight. And by the way, this whole conversation with Sean Strickland had nothing to do with the other stuff that he did with Dreykus Duplessis, where he called him a gay slur, where he went after him because Dreykus was talking about how Sean Strickland, who's endured his own trauma with a child abuse past, like there's a lot of stuff that we haven't even touched the surface of. But again, it all gets lost in everything that's happening outside the octagon.
I also would love in real time to have known, because I'm making an assumption based on we want to make this a political discussion. I would love to know how Sean Strickland and his fans felt about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. I would love to know if they regurgitated keep politics out of sports. Keep hate out of sports. That is just purely hateful. And I love the sport of mixed martial arts. And it's become unavoidable. And I go with the flow. I feel the way that I do about it. I'll give a middle finger under a table, if you will, to people I disagree with. I also root for them to get their asses beat. Because thankfully, in this sport, there's some sort of comeuppance that you don't get in other places. But that is garbage of the highest order. The fact that it's a publicly traded company and they can just keep going by because they have a cult of personality at the head of it in Dana White, because he's never had to be accountable, and anytime he is held accountable, he rebuffs it because, hell, he's speaking before Donald Trump at the RNC. That is bullshit that we allow that. It's bullshit. And we can't ignore it. And we should. If there isn't going to be a punitive measure, let's move on. Move the on.
But there can't be a punitive measure, Mike, if the person in charge doesn't feel anything in the way of pressure. Like, there has to be the outrage and the reaction to it. Now, I understand that the reaction these days to the outrage is to simply say, you're too sensitive. You want to cancel me. This isn't freedom, you being outraged by every little thing. But this kind of speech is not a little thing.
He's wearing a T-shirt that says, women go back in the kitchen. Well, like, what are we doing? Like that's not... Well, we haven't even touched on that. That's hatred of 40 years ago. We kind of got past that. And now we're just rehashing it because there has been a change. And it's the same people that ask for politics to be kept out of sports and have introduced this vile hatred into it while being platformed, while being legitimized, as the former president of the United States sits next to Dana White, the head of their company, at big marquee events. It's
On
just
edge, fake
as
snap
it's
vulnerability.
on ESPN. I asked Jimmy Pitaro, what gonads are you going to show me in this instance? Because that pay-per-view is on ESPN Plus. That is on ESPN Plus. And I know Disney is an inclusive company. I worked for it. You say nothing? You know what? You were right, Dan. I'll walk it back. End of the segment, I had to change my mind on something. I'm glad you made us play that video. Because while the UFC isn't going to do anything about it, I would challenge ESPN to make a public statement on this. Because that kind of hate is going over their airways. The Walt Disney Company. What are you, a chicken shit? That you allow this with impunity regularly, but it's never been this vile. The guy's wearing a T-shirt that says, women belong in the kitchen, a gun in every hand. Disney's a family company. Hell, Disney's a company. Take family out of it. This is revolting. You have that guy's last name on a pay-per-view. At the very least, condemn it.
Tony?
Dan, you want the punitive measure. It's at the end of that clip that we're not talking about is the sponsorship between Bud Light. And Modelo was the sponsor before Bud Light. Obviously, everything that happened with Bud Light in the national media, right? Now they go to the UFC and say, hey, we're going to sponsor, we're going to give you the most money we can to sponsor this event or sponsor, UFC in totality. But if Sean Strickland goes out, defends the title, beats Drakus, and then talks about Bud Light, the main sponsor for UFC, that's where you're going to have Dana hold on, not have this happen. So I feel like that's the moment when Dana steps in.
It's unbelievable that it's unbelievable that it's that overt.
What's going on with Mike Vrabel?
I think he's going to take the year off.
Yeah.
I think he should probably take a year off.
Atlanta.
But why? I mean,
you never know. There's pretty good jobs available right now.
This is a good coach, and it seems like no one wants to interview him. No one's considering him for their head coaching job. I mean, what is he? Is he waiting around for the right job?
Depends. I'm sure some in his family say, why don't you just pull it for a year? This is a guy that told his team we're going to knock Tom Brady's dick off before a playoff game. And you know what? They came pretty close. I can't verify it.
Mm-hmm. Dan, what do you think?
Seriously, Stugat? Do you see my disappointment? Turn around so that you can see my disappointment.
I don't want to. I can feel it. I don't need to. I mean,
I have had difficulty recently in being able to talk about the ESPN stuff because every damn time I talk about the ESPN stuff, it becomes I'm the bitter ex-employee, even though I'm just trying to be honest about what I see happening in the media that's changing, and I want the worldwide leader to behave like the worldwide leader. What you have happening in renting to people,
really, guys?
he didn't suffer any consequences when he, other than the public shame of slapping his wife in public and having the video out, didn't suffer anything in the way of public reprimand or consequences from the people in charge. Is you end up being complicit on this stuff, Stugats, when you just take the money and all you stand for is the taking of the money. And I do think that people need to see it and notice it. And I understand Mike's objection because Mike has consistently objected. He wanted me to stop doing anything with Covington a while ago because Covington is just clearly doing that in order to sell fights.
Dan, I want to welcome, Jeremy and I have been talking off air here, and I think he can give voice to exactly why I hesitate to playing these clips, because whether you know it or not, you're playing the game, and you're doing exactly what they want you to do.
These people want us to platform them, Dan. Like, these people want us to play these clips and then criticize them, because then they can claim, oh, we're getting canceled, and they can just rally their troops even more to be even more invigorated by this, to be even more infuriated by quote-unquote cancel culture when they're really the ones spewing hate.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan. I love football, and I love Miller Lite. Why do I love Miller Lite? Well, dependable flavor, the fact that it's a beer that tastes like beer, the fact that when I'm having a Miller Lite, I don't have to think for 1 second about the beer that I'm drinking. And I know that it's only 96 calories and 3 points. Miller Lite pretty much.
You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Feeling good about
What
your
the
fantasy
fuck?
draft picks, but not sure what to eat? Make it easy on yourself. Order in on DoorDash. Now you can root for your squad while your food and drinks are on the way. Yes, that means burgers, chips, dips, soda, pizza, wings, and so much more delivered straight to your door.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
The hell?
I've been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables.
This
to
is
grab
fucking
somebody's
embarrassing.
fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
It came at considerable expense, but Metal Arc Media has built a giant Elon Musk fast flume that will take me back from here in New York to Miami to interview Cam Newton here in the Big Suey. I will be back in Miami, and I'll just fly there very quickly because of all of the world skippers down to
45
tunnels between New York and Miami. So Cam Newton will join us here in a little bit. And we're doing, obviously, big things at Metal Arc Media. We're going out to the Super Bowl, a whole bunch of people, and we're excited about what we're going to do with Las Vegas. I saw a digital billboard, Stugatz, that I would imagine you were very excited about, that's on the side of the Circa Hotel.
Shit.
We've got new T-shirts that are going to come out later today. LevitardAF.com to celebrate some of the things that we're going to be doing in Las Vegas. And we've had a ton of RSVPs, and there's still room, right? We've had to change a lot of things. We were going to do it in a smaller venue, but we've had to do it now in a larger venue, and the Circa has been an excellent partner where they're advertising it. We're going to make a big splash. We're going to look cool and different, and it's going to be a lot of fun to be doing this away from Radio Row when we go to the Super Bowl. And I'm getting more and more excited about it, Stugatz. But at about noon today, we will drop some Moss shirts if you want them. They're very cool. LevitardAF.com is where you go. I didn't get to this in the local hour, Stugatz, so I want to get to it now because as media changes and fractures, and as people make their own newspapers, I have seen that a Jake Eicher is reporting that Duncan Robinson has been made untouchable by the Miami Heat.
That's funny.
Pete Warner
I just don't
and
believe that.
Shai
I
Tuttle.
don't believe
He's touchable.
I think he's touchable. Yes, I believe. I too have enjoyed his improvement, and I too would want on my team, no matter my team, to have someone who could do that from inside
Paulson
and outside.
Adebo.
I do believe he's lining up to be, if not the most improved player in the league, one of them. But
Dan, do they have a fine bucket in New York because you made Jake Fisher Jake Eicher?
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't read my own my own handwriting here.
That's
so yeah, I'll put $5 down here.
Well, it's $10. It's actually 10.
That penmanship.
Said the name
It's
wrong,
not.
and you can't read your own handwriting. That's $5 and $5, $10, Dano.
Can we get to the original point though? And
What was
you
it?
shouldn't
Duncan
trust
Robinson
media.
is untouchable? I mean, that's laughable. That is ludicrous. Let me tell you that. Like, if the right guy is available to the Heat, Pat Riley's going to draw the line at Duncan Robinson. I don't buy it.
I love your exclusive report. Stugatz of Metal Arc Media. Duncan Robinson, touchable.
Yes, let's report that. But I guess the larger point, a larger conversation that I want to have with you guys, because media is changing and where the credibility goes when people have to do their own discernment. You see that a whole lot of people are mad at Adam Schefter for reporting Jason Kelsey's retirement before Jason Kelsey was ready to report his retirement. Jason Kelsey, in the emotion of the moment, they lose to Tampa Bay. The single best time to ask a football player if he wants to quit is as soon as his season has ended. That's the time that you're going to get the most people saying, yes, I would like to no longer play this sport. If you ask them in the emotion of losing and their bodies hurting after 17 games or 18 games if you're playing playoff games. And I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people make the joke, Stugatz, that Tom Brady came back just to make Adam Schefter's report wrong.
He's been wrong too many times.
Tends to get it right when he's reporting that people are retiring. And my question to you is, what is the media's responsibility in that situation? Because it seems to me that a lot of fans are getting mad because Jason Kelsey doesn't get to do this intimate personal thing, doesn't get to have control over what he's doing because the information people are fighting over who gets to report it first, and something that should be personal, emotional, and something that is shared privately with your family is something that we feel entitled to as sports fans because we love and we pay the information guys to give us the information first.
Adam Schefter is a reporter. He's a very good reporter, perhaps the best NFL reporter that we have. His job is to report the news that he gets from his sources, and I'm okay with Schefter making that report. Jason Kelsey needs to learn, Dan, if he wants to do this stuff on his own platforms, it takes a minute to get used to it, because I believe that's what's at play. That Jason Kelsey wanted to announce this on his terms, on his platform, on his very popular podcast, and did not have the opportunity to do it. I don't blame Adam Schefter for it. I blame Jason Kelsey for letting it out.
Greg, if it's that important to him to keep it under wraps, here's a thought. Don't tell anyone.
Yep.
Okay, and I get that, but it doesn't explain how people are reacting to it when they already hate the media. And I don't know, Stugatz, I really don't know, given the general
Really?
entitlements that we
You
have
give a catch to
to
Trey
people's
McBride,
privacy if
a
they're
fucking
famous.
rookie.
Jim Irsay and his family are now requesting that we respect the family's privacy when it would appear that he is overdosed. He was
Latimer!
found cold. The Colts owner was found cold, and what is being reported by him is respiratory issues. But other people are pointing out and understanding that he's admitted in the past that he's been to rehab at least 15 times. Are we supposed to respect the privacy of an NFL owner who has apparently overdosed and has a drug problem by his own admission? If he's been to rehab 15 times and has had the public controversy of finding a bunch of pills and cash in his car. Like, what are we entitled to and what is privacy? Because you say keep it to yourself, but that's kind of becoming increasingly hard to do in the modern age and going to be even harder to do when we're paying the information people in rewards of $10 million
Oh,
a year
you
to
fucking
get that
serious?
information.
Jason Kelsey retiring, it's a totally different story, Dan. It's Irsay's more personal, but with that being said, it's really tricky because he's a public figure. He's the owner of an NFL team, and he has a history with stuff like this. And so I think the initial report is fair. If you want to keep it private after that, that's fine. But I'm just not certain what the reporter's obligation is there.
Did we not respect Jim Irsay's privacy? Did we not? Like a couple weeks ago when I think most people privately met the respiratory illness with a fair amount of skepticism because of what Dan has articulated, because it's known about Jim Irsay and his past and his struggles with dependence. Didn't we? And aren't we? Aren't we?
Well, it's
we haven't. This is the first time we've talked about this, right? But I think we are still, even in mentioning it, we're respecting the man's privacy. No, it just feels like a bit of a straw man to me.
To go back to the retirement thing, this happens a lot when in college football when you find out that a coach is leaving to go to another school. Like it happened this year right before Tulane's bowl game. People found out Willie Fritz was leaving, and people always get mad at the reporter. But I guess to play like reporter's advocate, if you find out a scoop or something, and I don't know how Adam Schefter knew he was retiring, who Jason Kelsey told or whatever. It's not really your job to time it right for that person, especially if someone else might break the news too. And I assume that's kind of the rule that Adam Schefter goes by.
His job is to break NFL news.
Yeah, like I can see why it sucks for the player, but I guess I see both sides of it. But the reporter's job isn't to like do the best by the person whose information they're breaking necessarily.
Jason Kelsey evidently said it in the locker room to his teammates, and that is how it spread. And many people in the locker room believe that what gets said in a locker room stays in a locker room. You're right, Stugatz. They are different situations, but the part that I'm interested in on Irsay when it comes to the definitions of privacy is. When Lamar Odom had a drug problem, we did not respect his privacy. And to my way of thinking, if you're an NFL owner, these people often live in the shadows somehow, even though they have the most power to control all of the things. They have the most money and power. To me, they are less deserving of the privacy than most people grading on this scale. Now, I would agree with you in general. Yes, I would like human beings to be able to have privacy, but that's not the world we're living in. And if you have people who are rewarded for reporting this stuff, for the invasions of that privacy, should it be not invaded the most when it comes to the most powerful of people when they have public incidents that suggest, hey, the person with this enormous power clearly has a drug problem. He's running a team. It's a team that has, I'm assuming, as all of these do, publicly financed stadiums and money that they're making because of people around them who have less money and fund these economies. To me, are those people not deserving, even understanding? Yes, human beings deserve a certain amount of privacy, but we've the ship has sailed on that one. There are too many media entities, and this is one of the reasons that people hate the media. Too many media entities that are profiting off of violating that privacy. But would you not agree, Stugat, that the people least entitled to that privacy are public figures with the most power?
I would agree. I would also tell you it's not a reporter's job to pick and choose. It's a reporter's job to report, regardless of how high it goes up. If it goes to Roger Goodell, to an owner, to a player, a reporter's job is to report on the sport they are reporting on. And so I agree with you, Dan, but you can't pick and choose these things. Like you just gotta. When you get a report, you gotta get it out there.
Out of the two
or
of
else
you,
someone else will.
Out of the two of you, Stugatz is the one arguing for the merits of journalism here. That is what a reporter's job is.
But some reporters do pick and choose, which does muddy the waters.
No, and it's only going to get more muddied with the NFL having a stake in ESPN.
It's all changing, is my
Shy
point.
total.
My point is that Stugat's advocating for journalism and me marveling at how much he's changing here puts us in opposite positions. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to leave the rest of this journalism to Stugat.
Who are you
here?
Well, Stu and Dan will take it from here. Dan is going to leave, but Dan is going to be right back with Cam Newton. We actually had Cam Newton for an extended period of time, and I'll close out the big Suey here. Somebody that we wanted to have on the show, and you will be very happy to know that his hat is ridiculous. And his getup. I mean, we want to talk about normalizing behavior and platforming. Someone needs to do something about this getup because it's absurd.
I like it. No, hold on.
It's ugly.
From Boswell. I'm digging the hats.
I got to get in the flume. I got to get in the Meadowlark flume.
He is
Get
trying.
down here, Dan.
All right, Cam Newton, next.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan. I love football, and I love Miller. I love drinking Miller Lite during the winter. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Don Lebatard.
Well, Charlie had this. Charlie, as far as I know, so just Charlie's title in my.
Are you going to say anything?
Stugatz.
How familiar
Yes,
were
sir.
you at the time with Chewbacca? Like how your upbringing had how much Chewbacca in it?
This is the Don Lebatard
It's
show.
weird that they call that a corner
Stugatz.
strike route, even though it's just a long corner route.
This guy is his own boss and in general is a boss. Allowed to smoke cigars indoors. I am not allowed to do that.
It's his studio.
It is. It's his world. Cam Newton with us. He was the 2015 NFL MVP, the 2010 Heisman Trophy winner, a three-time Pro Bowler, and he's the host of the shows 4th and 1 and Funky Friday on his YouTube channel. He's going for Media Empire now. What are you smoking? How many cigars will Cam go through in a day? Because it seems like every time I see you these days, you are on camera smoking a cigar.
Life is good, Dan. I can tell.
And now Hardy's in the zone.
They always ask me, what's my favorite cigar? And I simply say my next cigar. In a given day, I probably go through 2 to potentially 3. And that's a good day for me. And I don't do anything more than that. So, yeah, life's good.
Can you take me through? I'm going to talk football with you in a second, but your style choices are unlike anyone, I would say, in the history of your sport. I think you pride yourself on that. So take me through the ensemble you presently have put together. And coming up next, I've got follow-up questions on just generally your wardrobe, what it is we'd find if we went through the entire...
Fit check, Lucy.
Yes,
Fit check.
Fit check with Cam Newton.
Well, listen, I mean, it's simple. I'm all about details, so everything about me is intentional, from the way I speak to the way I carry myself, from walking and dressing in this manner. Bow tie is essential, is key. Collar pointed upward.
Oh my God.
Is key. The
Why does that happen?
Is this a trench?
I don't think that's a trench coat. I don't.
How long does it go down?
It's
Does it go all the way down to the ankles? No, that's not.
Nah, not a trench, not a trench.
It's longer. It's longer than a blazer, though.
Is that a duster?
It is longer than a blazer.
Duster?
Not a duster. Not a duster.
But hey, I mean, I consider my fashion layered fashion. So during these colder days, I'm bundled up rather hefty. So bow tie, sweater, as well as the pants all the way down. Today was a light day. Knew I had to dress to impress for my man, Dan and Stu.
How about the hat? Tell me about the hat and the hat collection.
The hat is Mashika, and we have to get you guys some hat sizes because it is my hat company, based in Bozeman, Montana, as well as Venice Beach, Los Angeles. And I have a lot of hats, just to say the least. So, you know, when it comes down to having
He kicked right
things
under
to
my
pull
foot.
from, there's no shortages there. And it's just all about making sure that the aesthetic is always.
Wait, Hardy's
that
not in the zone yet.
How about the yard markers? How do I get one of those?
Why would you want the yard markers?
That looks so cool.
You want yard markers?
Listen, if Cam has it, I want one. I mean,
Listen, it's the set design, man. We have to make sure that we embody 4th and 1. That's where I got my name from. Before there was ever a tush push, no slights by no means. I pretty much made my name off of that situation, gotta have it situation. Hat on a hat, and more times than not, you know, we converted. So.
Are you presently holding a gold cigar? Is that cigar gold?
It is, and it was just in my humidor, and I was just in Vegas getting prepared for obviously our show in Funky for the I Am Iconic Live tour, as well as being able to host 4th and 1 and potentially Funky Friday while I'm in Vegas for the Super Bowl. And the gentleman gave me an all gold cigar, and I was thought, hey, how fitting, you know. So this is a special occasion where I'm a big fan of you guys' show, and decided this one was the one that's next to smoke.
All right, we're celebrating with the golden cigar. If we were, and again, I will get to football questions, but I've been fascinated by you in general, your personality, how you've carried yourself for a long time. If we were going through your home right now and you were showing off the things that had to impress us, we're playing a game show where you're trying to impress someone else, not that that's your thing. What are some of the things in your home that you would show us, that you would say, this is maximum me?
Well, you'll have to step over a lot of toys, being that I have a lot of children that I love and adore. But, you know, these days it's either media, transportation with my logistics company, or just me being a hands-on dad. And that's what brings me a lot of joy these days.
I imagine your closet's pretty good, though, too, right?
I'm blessed.
I was doing well, and I'm mad because I didn't want to throw an interception.
It's at my house, but that's not something that I genuinely care about. It's like as soon as awards is kind of obtained, it's on to the next. That's just how I always kind of went about things, contrary to popular belief. It is what it is. It's just another trophy for me, and just being able to say I was a Heisman Trophy winner is suitable for a show.
What do you regard as your happiest professional day and your toughest professional day?
Ooh, professional?
Yes, just professional.
Okay. Happiest professional day was getting drafted. Worst professional day was losing the Super Bowl.
What can you tell us about that? Because you guys had one loss that season. You were the MVP of the league. That stayed with you how?
I just felt there was so much riding on that game that take the Super Bowl out. I was more excited that we were going to be able to do something not too many NFL teams could have done. To complete a season with just one loss. I think we were fighting the perfect season in Miami that year, losing I think it was on Christmas Eve. But all in all, that was just something that I just look back and say, damn, like, I really wish, we was able to kind of find a way to win that game because so much outside of a Super Bowl was just winning. We wasn't the most talented team, but I do think that we were the best team. When I say team, I'm talking about guys really cared about each other. They really embodied the harmony and the hard work that any great team kind of goes about it, and it showed. So when you look at that roster, it wasn't just star-studded with skill on paper, but what it did was show the importance of guys really getting along with each other and understanding their roles and responsibilities and making sure that they were held accountable to perform at a high level. Some would say more than what the expectations was, but not a lot of teams can say that they won how we won that year in 2015.
You played such a physical style, Cam. Can you tell us if there was any one game more than any other where you woke up the next day or 2 days afterward and the body felt the worst because quarterbacks weren't often used the way that you were used?
Well, quarterbacks weren't awfully used how we're seeing quarterbacks be used these days. I seen Josh Allen in that run this past or yesterday. It was just something that I just tipped my hat off of too, because the game has changed. The game has evolved, and those drop back, just stationary quarterbacks are now the minorities of the league. When I first came in, that position wasn't being played how I was playing it. Now, when you look around the league, there's so many athletic quarterbacks playing, whether they kind of lean towards running more so than passing or vice versa. It still doesn't matter. Everybody has a capability of getting outside the pocket and still attacking the defense in many different ways.
Cam, which of your businesses are you most excited about?
Iconic Saga, my production company. And I see a lot of different, I always say this, we're living in the golden age of media because it's athlete-generated content, and we have that platform now. Gone are the days where somebody just speaks on how we played or, certain situations that may have happened throughout a game. Now athletes are able to control their own narrative, and everybody can start one. You have the means to do so, but I don't think a lot of people execute hiring the right personnel behind the scenes to the magnitude that sustains longevity. And that's what I'm just trying to do here at Iconic Saga. And, I have an unbelievable team here, and we just try to get out great content for people to not only feel or be entertained, but also informed about certain things as well.
What are your greatest objections to how NFL media covered you?
Where's the credentials? That's a big kind of concern for me because we all can talk about the sport, but I think oftentimes when something is said, similar to what I said, let's use the most recent example about game manager versus game changer. I mean, that kind of went viral for what it was, but I never was degrading or trying to suppress a specific talent. My thinking was
I'm
back
sorry,
by
but the
merit.
statement was so fucking stupid.
And
Like,
I think a lot of
Cam
people kind of get
Newton,
into
you were a
that
game
space
manager
where they
because
just
Ron Rivera basically
speak
limited your
something and not be
talents.
held accountable. There
And
may
Bill
have been
Belichick did the
guys
same
starting Funky
thing.
Friday.
It's
The
like
main
those
reason why I
old-fashioned
started,
white, or
the
in
One
this
After
case,
Sports show was to hold
Mexican quarterbacks,
reporters,
coaches thinking that
GMs,
only
as
running the
well as
ball,
players accountable
they're not
to certain
teaching
things.
quarterbacks
Over
about
the past
fundamentals.
weekend, really over the past week, there's been
How the fuck you
some
get your ankles burned
examples
over
of
by?
people that have said some rather interesting
How did my
takes,
characters
and
get their
nobody's held
ankles
them
broken
accountable.
by
Paul
lucky?
Feinbaum, his take
What the
on,
fuck?
Michigan.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about that. They're not holding them to the fire like they held me to the fire in regards to speaking about Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, as well as Dak Prescott. Stephen A. Smith, went on to say the Texans have zero chance of winning, and obviously, what do we have for that? He's just going on, still making a certain take. So, I'm not saying that to say that they're bad people. I'm just saying we just have to hold people to a standard and hold them accountable in every aspect of sports, not just the players in this case.
Cam, stay there. We're going to come back with Cam Newton right after this.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs. Meaning you can talk to your agent to see what coverage you need. Coverage options to protect the things you value most. File a claim right on the State Farm mobile app and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good
It's all
neighbor,
the same
State
thing.
Farm
All the
is
same
there.
block. All it is.
Flock
Is
presents
blocking in a
work
different direction.
deja vu.
Whoa, I just had major deja
What the
vu.
fuck? I just started floating.
You've been approving expense reports for the last 3 hours. I have been here before.
I had a lane down that left, the right sideline, the left sideline. I had a lane.
Let's go to 80.
Bo. It was Bo.
Wow. I think Billy typed an 8 instead of a B. Fine.
It's a clear as day, Bo.
All right, $2.
Stugats.
Number 80. Go ahead. It's Chris Corner on the line. CC, go ahead.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats.
Why'd I do that?
You mentioned, Cam, the game manager thing. The most important skill for a modern quarterback
he was
is
going
what,
behind him. He was
according
going
to Cam Newton?
The ability to manage a game is essential. But hear me out. What makes it completely different is when you have a game changer, they've resorted to all options to say, it's now time for me to take over the game because that receiver is covered, that player is covered. Now I have to resort to some type of skill that I have in my repertoire to showcase. We've seen the Peyton Mannings do that with elite accuracy, the Tom Brady's of the world, the Drew Breeses of the world. The ones that are game changers also have that ability to manage the game, but the game changers have the ability to take over the game once all options are still kind of covered. So
the distinction you're making between game manager and game changer is that, the people took it as an insult, but those guys that you view as game managers are just game managers, where the very best of the quarterbacks can also do the game managing, but then are also game changers. They could do both of the things.
It's levels. It's like tiers. When I see a guy like Patrick Mahomes, everybody can still be covered, and he still has a unique ability to still buy time to throw an accurate ball outside of the pocket on the run, or just his beyond normal ability to, have an arm angle to complete a pass or whatever. That's game changing. And I think some quarterbacks have it, some players have it, some players don't.
Give me the teams, the number of teams. I don't want you to take out anybody by name, but give me the number of teams you think right now would be better off with you at quarterback.
There's no need. I am what I am, and I'm fine where I'm at. But at the same time, I look at if I had certain skill set while I was playing, personnel alongside of me while I was playing, man, that would have been nice. That can't play anymore, I'll let you be the judge of that. And
the Jets.
Well, Jets.
I said it.
It's a list of. It's a list.
All right.
As I look at from personnel, a skill set standpoint, had I had that, then who knows? Not to say that the teammates that I played with in my career wasn't good enough, because they were. I've had the ability to play with the Ryan Khalils, the Luke Kuechly's, the Greg Olsons, the Thomas Davis, the Steve Smiths of the world. And we've made as much that we could do with what we had.
Is Steve Smith the teammate that you have that you would regard as the most feared by others in the locker room, or is there another name that you would point to as a guy that was more feared than that teammate?
I think you just pulled a Dan Patrick right there. Just insinuate. Like, you answered the question without me even having to answer the question. Yeah, I mean, there's no denying Steve Smith was a force on the field, off the field, in the locker room, in the cafeteria, in traffic. That's just who he was. And my only regret with Steve Smith is that I wish I was older as a player rather than him wanting to win yesterday. By the time I came into the league, I was a young player, and that team, in essence, was labeled a rebuilding team. And he was a very competitive person, as we all know him to be, and he wanted to win. And I don't think he had as much time as I had. But going back you know, and if I could change anything, I wish I would have had Steve Smith during my 5th and 6th year, where now I understood how to be a professional, because it's a 365 sport, you know, working on your body, working on certain things in the off season, getting guys together, and those things you don't necessarily know as
I
a
don't
rookie.
understand why I'm struggling
You're
against
just going
the
with the flow
Cardinals.
and
They're a
trying to find
bad
your own
team.
way
Like,
that
I don't understand
you
why
can
I'm
create your
fucking
own
struggling.
routine. But yeah, I've learned so much from the Steve Smiths and the Jordan Grosses of the world that, you know, they had a big impact of, you know, the type of player that I grew to be.
You mentioned going back and doing stuff over. What else would you choose, do you think, when you go back and think about the things? Not doing regret necessarily, but just things you would have liked to have known earlier in your life.
Coach Mike Shula always would tell me this. And first off, I wouldn't take back anything, but he would always say, things are not as good as you make it seem, and things are not as bad as you make it seem either. So that's pretty much where I'm at in life as a whole. The work has pretty much been done, and it speaks for itself. And I'm a guy that is very easily critiqued or analyzed because I'm able to speak my mind and speak my truth and how I feel it to be, not how Stu sees it or Dan sees it. We all have our own opinions about certain things. I just speak it and, you know, let it fall how it fall. In some way, shape, form, some people get distracted by, you know, how I dress or, you know, how I played or whatever it is. But needless to say, this space that I'm in right now in life is just all about creating the best content I possibly can.
Fill in the blank for me here with some names. Just fill in the blank a name, and if you want to elaborate, you can, but you don't have to. The quarterback who reminds me most of me playing now is blank.
Josh Allen.
The wide receiver, one I was playing, who I thought was the best of all the wide receivers, was blank.
Steve Smith.
The toughest teammate I ever had was blank.
Thomas Davis.
The greatest leader I ever shared a huddle or locker room with was blank.
Brian Khalil.
The person that I learned the most from was blank.
Ryan Khalil.
The defender that I was thinking about the most the night before was blank.
And then on the team.
You got nothing for me there?
No, not really. It depended on the team, man. It wasn't one specific player that I never really feared a player. It was just being very mindful of who you have to
I'm fucking
be
listening to the
prepared
fucking
for.
Cardinals.
The one guy that I saw who had a bigger arm than me was blank.
A lot of them.
There were not a lot of them.
A lot, Cam?
Cam, there were not a lot of them.
Yeah, it was. Listen, the way we played the game may have been different, and the showcasing may not have necessarily been in place for me to show my arm strength or for them to have showed their arm strength. But a lot of what's done is highlighting certain strengths. I've seen a stat where my career was being compared to Dak Prescott's. He played the game completely different. That's not a good comparison. They went off of how he plays the game, and that's pretty much in the pocket. Well, I played the game any way the defense gave me an opportunity to attack them. So I resorted a lot to running the football. So if they would have put up a stat for rushing yards, which they didn't, and his rushing yards, it would be a complete different kind of lopsided kind of view. But it just depends. And arm strength is just one of those things that certain systems of philosophical offenses are kind of geared to take shots down the field. There was times where we had coordinators from, you know, the Mike Shulas of the world, the North Turners of the world. They wanted to take shots, and then there was just times where you just had to, you know, up tempo. So, needless to say, that's why I say that. I didn't have the strongest arm and never proclaimed to have.
The best athlete I ever saw on a football field was blank.
Percy Harvin.
That's a good one. Percy Harvin, another feared one, by the way. Percy Harvin, another feared teammate. I don't know who's second to Steve Smith. The second most feared teammate I had to Steve Smith was blank.
Luke Kuechly.
That's pretty good too, actually.
Cam, can you win a Super Bowl with Tua as your quarterback? Not you, the Dolphins.
Yes.
You can, huh?
Yes, you can. But when I looked at this past weekend's game results, with Tua, you got Waddle, that whole team embodies speed. So the need for speed aspect. And there's times where they personified that in different elements and situations, whether that is. But if that team gets on a roll and they're moving the ball at a high level, they have every right, to win the Super Bowl. It just didn't happen this year.
Cam, I believe I'm one of those
Oh,
media members that
fucking
lacks the
God.
credentials, but for my money, you're the greatest goal line weapon in the history of the game. You've come up in a lot of debates, and I know you're 34 years old. You're younger than Russell Wilson, and there's a politics angle to why it is that you're not playing there. But if you look at production, there was a drop-off, and we've always wondered what was the cause of that drop-off. I'll ask you directly. I've made the excuse before that it might have been the car accident that you got into, but you don't make excuses. Can you explain it to me?
Well, people who are not familiar with my career, meaning being in a small market like Charlotte, it's not like New York or Dallas or whatever have you. My drop off in my career happened by way of a shoulder injury that I was sustained on a penalty that got called back. My rotator cuff, I tried to push a guy out of bounds in a way where, I landed awkwardly on my shoulder. And that was really the demise of my career from the pushing the ball downfield aspect. It wasn't the back injury that I sustained in the car accident. It was the shoulder. There was times where I could not throw, even in practice. But that was just something that, my team and team personnel knew. But it was an injury that I sustained, I think it was 2016 versus the San Diego Chargers. They were San Diego at that time. And it was a interception that ended up getting called back. So, yeah.
I got to imagine, Cam, that a dozen times on a Sunday you see a roughing the passer call and you just look at your friends and you're like, oh, come on, come on.
It's not as that egregious these days. They just send it to me via text message, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And I don't think my come on is that verbal or outspoken, but it's a yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your friends are taunting you with it. It sounds like they're all there. They are texting you saying you should have played in this NFL.
Correct. Well, I don't think Justin Fields can say that right now because he's still going through the same situations that I had too. And Justin is a person who I know very well, seeing him in high school at the age of 16, playing on my 7-on-7 All-Star team. So seeing his struggles and his issues from being protected at the quarterback position is something that I can kind of empathize with him a little bit.
Well, what's happening there? Because you got to be careful with some of this stuff because you know how it gets aggregated and what goes viral. Why are you choosing Justin Fields there instead of Josh Allen?
Well, Justin Fields hasn't been protected, in my opinion. I mean, it's simple. Some of the hits that he's been taking, even when he's given himself up, hasn't felt like he's been protected. So that's why I say Justin Fields, per se, more than Josh Allen. And that's not to say this person deserves more than that person. It's just, it's the referee's responsibility to protect the player. And there's times where there's egregious hits that Justin hasn't been protected.
Who's the quarterback you like watching the most now?
The same ones y'all like to watch. I mean, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, too, even with the statement to be what the statement is, I love how Jared Goff's control of the offense. And really, I'm a fan of Dan Campbell. I mean, that guy there he's a coach that you want to play for. Just that whole team is just fun to watch. Very scrappy, opportunistic, and just fearless when it comes to fourth down situations.
He's the host of the shows 4th and 1 and Funky Friday on his YouTube channel. Cam, good catching up with you. Good seeing you. Happy to see you happy with new endeavors. May the challenges be fulfilling, sir.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for having me. And as I always say, with love.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan. I love football, and I love Miller Lite.
DraftKings Network.
Folks, this year the big game is not just for football fans.
It's time to go all in on food. Tums and DraftKings
2 touchdowns. Gonna get that shit to myself. Got a quarter to go.
And keep on snacking.
I gotta
There's
make
a
some
share of
stops.
$10,000
Gotta
up for
stop
grabs.
complaining. Stop
Take home the cheddar.
punching
Just
shit.
make the right picks
My
on
hand
America's
hurts now
Game Day
because I
Grub.
punch my own
Play free in
TV.
the Tums
Not the
prop
smartest
pool on
decision
DraftKings
ever.
to score big without the burn. Learn more at
And I'm tired of people making it seem like I am not mentally or I'm not mature enough to handle being an adult. I can handle being an adult. I've been doing this shit for like 7 years now. So I'm sick and tired of people. If you might have to walk to work, I'm like, bitch, I'm not walking no fucking work. I am too classy of a person to do that. And he was like, everybody else had to walk to work. Why don't you, Mr. Mr. High Class? I'm like,
everybody, how are you? Good to see you. Where's that old Billy in that stupid red sweatshirt he wears?
He's such a dork, Sims. He's such a loser.
Oh, wait, agreed. Damn, me and you gotta hang more. I agree.
Oh, no, Tony, this is a great spot for you. It's a great spot.
I love
for you.
Sims.
No, because Sims goes after Billy. Tony doesn't like Billy. I mean, you guys can have at it with Billy all you want. This is great. But once again, a no-show for Billy, Sims. It's incredible. I mean,
I've never seen a guy that has no life pretend that he has a life more than Billy. Like, it's incredible. I mean, what's he doing? Dressing up that stupid room in his house again? I mean, what is he doing?
He sent
is
you a
he in the
jersey.
parking lot at the Marlins gathering again? I mean, what he knows this is what we do. It's the playoffs,
right?
And he, you know, and then it's always convenient. He loves to not show up when the Dolphins and Tua play like shit. Let me just tell you. He will run out of that show in a hurry when that happens.
I do want to just be fair to the audience. We begged Billy to join our show, and he said no.
Oh, shit. Oh, I can't betray Billy.
Evil cat.
They're not letting him in. I can't betray Billy.
No, we told him to sit this one out because I didn't want it to devolve into God Bless Football and shitting on Billy Gale, so we're going to move on and talk some pigskin.
But Sims is going to do it anyway. He doesn't give a shit. Sims doesn't care.
Look at this. We got somebody reining us in this week. What are we trying to be professional around?
Oh, there's a new sheriff.
Crazy.
There's a new sheriff. We do things different around these parts. Talk a little bit about Mikey A.
Oh, well, Mikey A, you know, I mean, he's awesome. I love Mikey A. He can go a show, 2 shows, and I don't know how he still has a job where he actually doesn't even talk, but he's still on the show. It's amazing.
It's like AJ Hawk.
I'll be like, damn, we've been on here for an hour the last 2 weeks, and you've actually said nothing, and you're getting a paycheck. And I honestly think he's usually taking an edible, and he's just like, I'm just hanging out, getting stoned, listening to Sims talk football and talk shit about Billy. So it's an incredible duo that, you know, Billy and Mikey A. You guys struck gold with those two.
Put it on the poll. Is Mikey A. AJ Hawk?
You're funny.
Maybe don't put it on the poll. I don't want those engagement numbers, but let us talk some playoff football. You mentioned Tua, and apologies if you did this on any of other Stugatz's properties, but what are we to do with Tua's season? Some people would point out the highlights. Leading passer, hey, he made it through a full season. I'm kind of in that camp. I think he needed to prove that he needed to be healthy for an entire season.
Mike, I would also say he's everything you want your CEO to be. He's everything you want your quarterback to be.
I'd like my quarterback to be able to move out of the pocket.
Yeah, there's other things, but in terms of, like, leadership, it was weird. He pretended like he didn't care about criticisms when he would go and talk about them, making it pretty clear that he cared about criticisms.
Right.
And Chris, you're one of those guys that gets lumped in as one of the biggest critics. So So what do we do?
He doesn't like internet trolls, yet he likes them when they troll for him. That's what I've learned about him there.
So what do we do? What do we do with this season?
There is a lot of positives, Mike. I think you're not wrong in that. Hey, he's still playing really good football, right?
You've got to be fucking serious.
I think that was probably the biggest part of the puzzle.
I'm fucking losing to the Cardinals. Are you fucking serious right now?
Still hang in there and be ready to go. So there was that, certainly. Some of the problems on the team and the offense are not all him. That's for sure, right? And as we know, like, as much as, you know, sometimes these fan bases want to go, oh, well, he'll never get us where we want to go. We're going to ditch him and find somebody else. Well, yeah, who else are you going to find? Tell me. I mean, you know, the groundwork's been laid here with Tua, the offense, the people around him, that it really fits Tua and his skill set in a lot of ways. And the offense is built around him. So my thing would be, I don't expect them to make a change, right? Now, one, I think Mike McDaniel believes in Tua and believes in what they're doing. Two, the thing that
Shut
I
up, bitch.
don't love necessarily is I think the GM and Chris Greer is going to do anything he can to justify still picking Tua in the top 5. So they're never going to give up on that. But what I would say here is the big thing, and I think we're talking contract. I'd offer him a contract. It just would be nowhere near top of the market. That's what I would do, because that's what he is. He's nowhere near the top of the market type of quarterback, in my opinion, right? He's not. He's not a superstar, right? I don't think he's top 10 in the NFL, all right? I think maybe he's dancing around those areas, okay? But I think the ultimate big question and problem is going to be some of the things Stugotz has heard me say. When games get ugly, when it's not a track meet and, Tyreek's wide open and there's a screen pass and he runs for 60 yards. And now all of a sudden, it's cold, it's windy. I got to stand in the pocket and people are surrounding me and I got to make big throws in those elements, not just like Tyreek wide open over the middle, right? That's where I question Tua's ability overall, or whether he can carry the team through those moments. And that's where I'd say, no, I don't think he can really do those things. So therefore, you shouldn't pay him a ton of money, and you got to keep some of that money to build the pieces around him. And I would also call his bluff and be like, well, go out in the market then. Tell me who else is going to pay you more than $25, $30 million a year. Tell me. So that's how I would handle it. I'm just interested to see if Chris Greer, the GM, who's sewn together with Tua, will actually take that approach, which I think is truly the right approach to take in this situation. I'm not trying to be a jerk or funny or anything there.
Chris, two-parter here. One, would you give him, if you give Tua a $200 million plus contract, it's kind of a death sentence for the organization. One. Two, you give him I'm establishing.
That was a statement or a question?
No, that's a first part of the statement. Second part
it's
is
a statement, though.
Now into question. Thank you, Jess. Would you give him a Daniel Jones type contract where it's maybe a little bit more front loaded for like 160, maybe 80 guaranteed, somewhere in that neighborhood? Three part. Hold on. Three. And I think you're going to agree with me because you're my boy.
Write these down.
So closing with a statement. There's
another statement of agreement.
It's Mike, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, Billy is an evil cat. No, what I was going to say is, Chris, I don't want my quarterback, after getting his ass kicked, going to trade jerseys with the quarterback that kicked his ass. Not happening.
Statement.
Well, I hear you there. There's a grittiness and a toughness of Tua that I think we would all like to see a little more of, right? Yeah, I don't think Tom Brady or Mahomes or anybody after a big loss would run over to the other guy and go, "Can I have your jersey?" Can you picture Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or anybody like that doing that?
Never.
Like, nope. Absolutely not.
Nope.
Come on. Let alone there's some other things that have been said and done where I want to go, come on, like, relax, everybody. Those are things that I think can be improved with Tua and be part of the reason, too, to I think your point of, why I wouldn't back up the Brinks truck and just go, here you go. You tell us how much you want and, we'll pay you whatever. Again, this is something that I think NFL teams, even before the Tua conversation, are messing up. I do. I don't know why NFL teams feel the need to, my quarterback contract's up, so now we're going to make him the highest paid. If I was running a football team, I'd go, Patrick Mahomes makes this. None of you are Patrick Mahomes, and you're going to make less than that until you show me you're better than Patrick Mahomes. Then we'll pay you more. That's how it used to work. I don't know where it all went wrong. Like, nobody surpassed Brady or Manning forever because everyone was like, you're not Brady or Manning, so you don't get to do that. So, yeah, and that's to your point to Daniel Jones. Yes, I think that's the sweet spot. 3 or 4 year deal where it's a lot of money up front, but you can get out of it after a year or two and not ruin your franchise. And I will even say, as a Daniel Jones fan and as Giants fan, we gave him too much money, too. These teams got to stop negotiating against themselves. That's what they do. Like, who was going to pay Daniel Jones more than $40 million a year last year? It's literally like these teams are like, I'll give you 30. Yes. Oh, no, forget it. We'll give you 35. Yes. Oh, no, we'll give you 40. Like, I don't understand what they're doing at sometimes with these negotiations.
Sims, are you paid per F-bomb?
I mean, the edits right now.
No, I'm not. But I embrace my F-bombs
work
on
on your own
anything
content.
that's not a live TV show. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Are we on God Bless Football? Are we on?
We have no idea, Sims. Yeah.
No, we do. We're on main show, the flagship,
show.
baby.
We're main show. So I feel bad that I'm swearing. But no, once I get outside of Sunday Night Football, I've gotten the green light from NBC that I can kind of swear, and you know me enough in real life. That's how I talk. So I just let it go. I have a good stopper or brake pad when I'm on live TV, and it's like big NBC. I'm pretty good in that department.
Chris, better story for you: Baker Mayfield or the Lions?
Oh, they're both great stories. Baker Mayfield is the one I'd go with, though. All right. What do you think? Tell me what you think. Go ahead.
He said Chris. I just got confused for a second. That's
Chris Cody is so used to me talking to him that he thought I was actually asking
classic Chris humor.
And not the football expert. Classic Chris. It was great, Chris.
Better with the mic off.
We'll get to Chris in a moment, because now I'm interested in what he thinks too. But I love the Lions story. I think we kind of felt or had a feeling this was coming. The Baker Mayfield thing, I feel like, is out of nowhere, right, for most people. Stugatz, you've heard me defend Baker Mayfield over the last 2 years. I've been one that's like, hey, he's a starting NFL quarterback. You know, you put him in a crappy situation in Carolina, and he goes into a weird situation with the Rams. You're not going to look good. You're not. We could have put a lot of big-time quarterbacks in those situations. I would have gone, you know what I always say, you're around crap, and crap's going to get on you, and you're going to start to smell like crap. And that's what Baker Mayfield was stuck in. And he got screwed over in Cleveland, too. And they did him dirty.
They really did. It pisses me off that Baker Mayfield got sent off to the fucking Rams. To the Panthers, then the Rams.
They're not going to be as good with Tom Brady. And actually, they're better. So I think from that standpoint, I do like the Baker story better.
Do the Packers have a chance against the Niners? I love the Packers. I love Jordan Love, man.
They got nothing to lose. That's what's scary. Nobody expects them to beat here, right? I worry about the Packers' defense. They're talented but young. We know Joe Barry and that defense have had some kind of a roller coaster there. That's my biggest worry, right? And we know the 49ers offense is phenomenal. Now, they're not going to be outclassed talent-wise. This Packers team is extremely talented.
Freddie Kitchens wasn't, and Hugh Jackson wasn't Baker Mayfield's head coach. He would still be the quarterback of the Browns right now. And
you can't just do what you always do. It's Shanahan. He'll break you down. You got to throw some curveballs.
Deshaun Watson would be out of the NFL altogether. He would be in jail right now.
The 49ers D, not as good as it's been the last few years. And Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur are dangerous. Their offense is creative. It's rooted in Shanahan and McDaniel. You guys see it? It's motions and shifts everywhere. Jordan Love will stand in the pocket with good protection and throw the ball down the field, and they can run the ball too. I think they hang around. I'm picking the 49ers to win, but I do think the Packers hang around. I went 49ers 30-21.
PFT with Mike Florio every day on Peacock, Football Night in America, the Unbuttoned podcast as well. Chris, we have less than a minute here. Chris Sims I'm talking to. We have less than a minute here. Your thoughts here on C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson. I think the Texans have a real opportunity because all the pressure is on Baltimore. There is no pressure on the Texans, Chris.
No, a lot like we were just talking about Green Bay. Nobody expects them to be here. You're going to be, oh, wait, we got to call a trick play, do something, steal a possession. We got to go all in and maybe do some things that we're not comfortable doing. And that's always dangerous. I think the Ravens, like the 49ers, the whole year has been get the Super Bowl. That's it. I think they know they lost as the 1 seed a few years ago to the Tennessee Titans at home, and they were just happy to be a 1 seed, and we won the MVP. This year, I don't think they give a crap about anything. I don't think they'll be caught sleeping here. I think the Ravens are in a different class than the Houston Texans. I know the Texans are dangerous, definitely. I got the Ravens winning by 10. I just think they're too well-rounded of a football team throughout their roster. They're well coached on both sides. I went Ravens 27-17.
All right, Sims, a short one for you this week. No Billy, a short one for you. It's like a vacation for you. Congratulations. Thank you, man.
It's crazy. I feel like I'm cheating the audience, but it was great, and it was entertaining with this crew here and no Billy and Mikey. Yeah, I like this crew.
Okay, they'll be back next week.
Darn it.
What? Okay, I'm in. All right,
As long as we don't shit on Billy.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys. See you. Be good.
Talk to you.
Chris. Oh, wait.
Thank you. Oh. Folks, whether you're hosting a game day, a movie night, DiGiorno knows that planning a watch party on a budget isn't easy. You need the perfect setting, the perfect squad, the perfect eats. And luckily, you're a Game Time mastermind, and you know that grabbing DiGiorno Classic Crust Pizza can bring home the dub. Because it's packed with half a pound of cheese, sauce, and other toppings, and comes at an incredible price. Make the game-winning call and grab a DiGiorno Classic Crust Pizza from the grocery store today. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Don Le Batard.
It's been a lovely cruise. Oh man, that's my outro. That's as my casket is being lowered.
Jesus.
I'll have been cremated a week before, but we'll do the casket thing just for show. And as my casket is being lowered,
Wait a minute. Whoa, empty casket?
Yeah, it'll
Close.
empty, just for show.
Well, what's the redundancy there?
We're going to put on a public display.
Yeah, naturally.
Stugatz.
What do you do with the ashes?
Going
on a lovely cruise.
Exactly. Maybe we'll throw them over. My wife will throw them overboard.
I would
she's
assume
necking with her new husband.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugatz.
It's Thursday, and you know what that means? Thursday Thunder.
Thursday Thunder!
Different game, Chris. Different game. That's later on in the week. There we go.
We have the imaging.
It's there somewhere. Here we go.
There it is. All right.
A very carefully crafted Thursday Thunder by the one and only Juju Gotti. I am here to read it for you.
Check out his new merch.
Yes, please, on the merch store. All right, we'll start here in the first leg. Over 37.5 yards for Romeo Doubs. I like that a lot, actually. Had 160 yards last week.
Yeah. I like the Packers a lot.
Wide
I
open
do.
the whole game.
Yeah.
Packers are good.
And the Packers on the money line again.
Ooh.
That's not part of Thursday.
Yeah,
Thunder.
different
I know.
game.
Listen, I was just.
You can save that one for when we play money line.
My apologies.
Both one seeds can't cover, right? Sorry, we're doing a different show.
Save it for you.
Got to figure out which one's going to cover. One's going to cover, one's going to not. We got to figure out which one, folks.
You seem very invested in this. Second leg. Over 29.5 receiving yards for Cade Otton. Had a couple drops last
That
week.
guy.
Cotton.
Oh, that guy. Had him first to score.
Yeah.
That would have been a nice one.
We have over 29.5 yards against the Detroit Lions this Sunday. We go into the association. Over 12.5 points for Vince Williams Jr.
He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12.5 points.
I like it. No job, Moran.
Last and final leg, we'll go back to the NFL. 14.5 is the line for Isaiah Pacheco rushing attempts.
Oh, we're
So about
smashing
14.5 over for Isaiah Pacheco. All that gives you a nice little plus 475 parlay ski for Thursday Thunder.
I want to be a little bit more fair to Juju, who's done some good work on our merch store. We just basically said, go check out the merch store. But let's give you a detail for those following on our video channels, youtube.com/@LeBatard Show and on DraftKings Network. All you need to do is head over to lebatardaf.com/Juju-Jules, and you can see the exclusive Juju Gotti collection. And I'm looking at an image right now of a Foot Girls t-shirt that makes me very happy.
What's that?
Foot. Oh.
Footies. Check out the footies this week.
Yeah, so check that out at our shop. And thank you so much, Juju Gotti, for all the hard work that you put in. Stugatz, back to you.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Chris Cody, it seems like you're very upset about people throwing snow in Buffalo. Like, you've been upset about it since the game was played. It's snowing again this weekend in Buffalo. I imagine they're going to try to do it again to Patrick Mahomes. But you seem very upset about this.
Well, it just seemed like everyone was just okay with it. Like if they were throwing actual like baseball, like
I
you know what I
wasn't
mean?
okay with it.
Oh, you're a
I
Steelers
was
fan.
screaming on my TV.
I actually even I had the Bills, so it was just more like,
Shut up.
what's going on here that this is acceptable? Like, why aren't we making announcements? But then we were talking in the break. If you make an announcement, then all the Steelers fans are gonna just throw and try to act like they're Bills fans. It was a dangerous game, and part of me, and then midway through it, I realized maybe I want this more. Maybe home field advantage should be like this. Maybe what would we do at Dolphins games? What could
Snowballs,
we throw?
but different kinds.
Cocaine.
Well, we make them stand in the sun. I mean, that's...
I like the idea of us throwing cocaine.
8 balls.
A very expensive throw. Chris, when you talk about the snowballs, you mean at the players?
Dude,
in the
there was a
field, or
play.
throw them in the stands.
George
'Cause I
Pickens,
love that.
a deep ball to George Pickens. I'm watching the
It was a
replay.
touchdown pass.
He dropped it.
He's the ball. The football's falling. As you see him trying to concentrate on the pass, you see a snowball come flying through. Great throw by whoever did that. I mean, like, you are doing your part, sir or ma'am. But that was just, I don't know how I feel about this. I want chaos, but it seemed unfair.
It did seem like what happened.
Oh, Thursday Thunder is presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports.
What?
So sorry to our esteemed partners over at DraftKings. We do these not just because we like Thursday Thunder, but because it's a great opportunity to promote. And when we miss a liner, that's a bad mess up on my part. So, everybody, just know that Thursday Thunder is presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code Dan, because it's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I love the snow celebration. I think when you're throwing snow, it's got to come from deep within the stands, right? You don't want to be front row throwing snow at people. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Like, that didn't interfere with Pickens catching the pass. No, it didn't.
It was way behind.
Get out of here.
It was way behind.
That's because it was way behind him. Imagine a scenario where it, like, slow motion, like, hits him in the face. Like, this is insane that we're just like, hey, it's snow, so we're allowing this. Like, I keep going back and forth. I want chaos, but it's like, it's not right. It's not right.
So
I'm with Jess. Don't do that to George Pickens.
How do you stop it, though? I mean...
I don't think that the Steelers fans would throw snowballs in an attempt to frame Bills fans. I think there are ways to suss that out. Sure, if someone goes as far as to be a covert Bills fan while they're actually rooting for the Steelers to do this, at that point, I just tip my hat. What a plan. Like this. Who could have seen this coming? You predicted that an announcement would go over the air, but we've seen that before, be it with beer bottles or with snowballs. They announced.
Dildos too, yeah.
Dildos as well.
Yeah.
They announced over the PA, hey, no more throwing objects onto the field. If you continue to do so, your team is subject to a penalty, and that normally corrects the behavior.
At least they were kind enough to throw the dildo not in the middle of a play, though. It's like, I'm okay with dildos being thrown.
No,
Just
the
don't
first
throw
one
it at
was in the
George
middle of the
Pickens'
play.
face.
It's just hard to get that because it's just flopping around.
Wasn't
in
on
the
his
air.
face.
It's not as aerodynamic as a snowball.
You're playing the result here. You're not mad because the snowball was a
Who
was a
won?
bad throw.
Why the fuck would you have a dildo in the fucking first place? There are fucking kids in the building. How sick of a human did you have to do shit like that in public? It's a game. It is not that fucking serious.
And all of a sudden, bogey on my left.
Yeah, but you tell fans to stop, they're going to do it more.
No, not if it penalizes the team.
There's a lot of Steelers fans.
Not just hear me.
Ball should have been on the 1 yard line.
Generally, stop it.
No, they don't.
Yes, they did.
No, they don't.
But Mike,
I have no rebuttal.
when you tell a bunch of
I don't know how I disarm that.
Want
Yes,
the stadium announcer to say, hey, no more throwing snow. If it happens again, the refs are going to penalize
generally
our
when
team.
you announce on a big speaker a bunch of drunk people to do something, they tend to not listen.
No, not really. Not really. Again, I've seen the behavior corrected, and sometimes it doesn't. It begins with the PA, and yes, sometimes they do it more. And then the head official gets on the microphone, and then they actually issue a penalty.
And then Greg Popovich gets in there.
Oh,
hey, can we cut that shit out?
Like,
where were you?
That's not how we do it here.
McDermott gets a microphone like, guys, that's it.
Show some respect.
I guess maybe it's because I like to bet a lot, and I watch a lot of football. I've seen these scenarios play out. Like, I've seen the snowballs continue.
But you see,
and then I've seen the penalties issued.
Bona fides.
Yeah, but you see everything through a gambling prism, Mike. I mean,
Well, the gambling prism allows me to see all of these games and be prepared for the next scenario in which there's snowballs being thrown onto the field. How has this happened before? I gotta tell you, my gambling losses should be a write-off. because it gets me so informed over the years. I've seen everything.
You can write off your contributions to the Miami.
Sorry, it was a bad joke. Gambling.
Build a dome, you won't have to throw snowballs.
Who wants snowballs? That's what you
We need to figure out what every stadium can throw. Like
There's
what?
one on Sunday.
Like let's pick a random one. Like in Vegas, what are we throwing in Vegas? Little chips, like poker chips.
Poker chips, yeah, probably.
You want
also
to assign,
cocaine.
Okay, you want to assign one foreign object.
Yep.
To each state.
That can be a projectile for that. I mean, they famously threw bottles.
Yeah, beer bottles. And
what are we doing in Baltimore?
They should throw dog bones though. In
Baltimore's lame.
Crabs, throw crabs in the
crabs.
Throw milk bones.
Crabs.
Imagine live
Milk
crabs.
San Francisco, acid.
Clam chowder in a bread bowl. Bread bowl.
Haight Ashbury.
It's only in Haight Ashbury, yeah.
But I've been watching sporting events where bottles of urine are thrown on players, batteries.
In Seattle, it's just buckets of water.
Because fish, they throw the fish in Seattle.
Because of
just chucking fish.
because of
Thank
my
you.
betting, I know what the ground rules are when there's a tree next to the goal. I didn't know that was a thing that could happen. But what happens if a soccer ball hits a tree that's hanging over the goal? Now I know.
Pittsburgh, they just throw slag.
What field is this where there's a tree hanging over the...
Oh, CONCACAF Champions
What are you
League.
betting on?
CONCACAF Champions
Everything, Chris.
Dude, CONCACAF Champions League, a sicko's delight.
Come on, Mike.
It is. And there's another sicko's delight tournament going on right now, African Cup of Nations.
Right.
Which inconveniences like the club teams because they have this competition going on simultaneously as, you know, there's a lot of great African players, and Mo Salah is playing for Egypt, not for Liverpool right now. And these games, good luck betting them. It's just a doggy's delight.
So why are you doing it?
Because I am a doggy who delights. I'm gambling.
Mike's gambling again.
Don't reinvent yourself for the new year. Just rehydrate yourself with Liquid IV. With 3 times the
Damn it.
electrolytes of leading sports drinks, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness, Liquid IV hydrates 2 times faster than water alone, all in a single sugar-free stick. So you can feel like a hydrated new you, ready to take on 2024. Liquid IV single-handedly got me through 4 years at the University of Iowa. It was very important to me for reasons you can probably deduct. It is the best hydration cure. It was so wonderful on my college football road trip series, just because, you know, hey, you need to drink water,
Nice
you need to be
job.
hydrated. Very easy, very simple, could not recommend enough. And the best part of it, no sugar, so I didn't feel like crap. That was the whole point of Liquid IV, was to avoid the feeling like crap, and it works. Rehydrate yourself for the new year. Grab your Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier sugar-free and
We're down by 1 touchdown.
or get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com and use code DAN at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code
Now
DAN at
all I need is a
liquidiv.com.
stop. One stop, and I got a chance.
Home and auto insurance with a personal price plan. The personal price plan lets you pay the bills so you can choose the home and auto insurance coverage that fits your need at a price you can afford. And bundling home and auto, that's a pro move and just another way to save with State Farm's personal price plan. Talk to a State Farm agent.
Or I can get a
today
hit
to learn
stick
how you can
fumble.
bundle and save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor,
Or I can just do that.
prices based on rating plans that vary by state, coverage options.
One first down, the ball game is over.
Savings and eligibility vary by state.
Don Lebatard. All of us who were watching college football elevated everything the weekend was because
I'm trying to get. I gotta call my timeout,
general
Swift.
so very much.
You didn't watch the ending of UTEP.
Yes!
It was awesome.
Just any single thing that happens, she gets genuinely happy about.
Don't you miss viewing sports through that prism though? Like I'm
Ow.
envious of Lucy. Like
I was just trying to get a defensive stop. Turns out I got a pick six. I got a pick six. Woohoo!
We'll get to Tony's top 5 here in a second. I'm reading reports that Belichick is now taking a second meeting with the Atlanta Falcons. I cannot see Bill Belichick after, I don't know, a quarter century with the Patriots, 6 Super Bowls with Brady. I just can't see the Falcons. It seems weird to me.
There's a lot of reputable reporters out there. Josina Anderson says that this is the expectation. And he's going to end up head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Wait, what?
Obviously had a huge comeback in a Super Bowl, but I actually think it's a good spot.
Why?
Well, I kind of said it jokingly, but it's true. If anyone knows the value of playing in a weak division, it's Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
built this legacy in part because over that run with New England, he played in such a weak AFC.
Ah,
East.
shit.
It's certainly
That
winnable.
first down
They
hurt.
had a team that, from a talent
Because now they can
perspective,
kill the
you
clock.
can address a quarterback, and there's going to be hell. Baker Mayfield's a free agent. I'm not saying that that's the answer there, but this is a very winnable division, and Arthur Blank seems to be a really good owner over there. I like the move forward.
A lot of good pieces, a lot of young pieces that are already have their rookie contracts, and one piece of the puzzle is seemingly starting to fit in. We're missing the second piece of the puzzle. I told you in Tony's Top 5.
Oh my God.
Belichick, Kirk Cousins, collision course with Atlanta.
You love doing that, don't you?
I know, but
I told you 2 weeks ago.
First piece of the puzzle.
How the fuck does that
Now,
happen?
this top 5 that Sugot's made reference to, this isn't your traditional Tony's top 5.
No.
It's a loved and adored
It's a
benchmark.
standard top
This
5.
is a standard top 5 that is canon within the Liverpool
Yes.
universe.
I'm looking forward to it. But Bill Belichick can go wherever he wants, except for Dallas.
Where he went, though, right? Like, we're just used to seeing him be the Patriots.
Philadelphia would make more sense if that job becomes available.
Right. I was
Doesn't seem like it will be.
when you spoke to Dan earlier, and I think it was you that made the point. Like, why would
Yeah, fucking hell.
keep McCarthy over Bill Belichick? Don't you think that he back-channeled and the announcement to keep Mike McCarthy came after he did a check-in with Bill Belichick?
Give up the field goal.
So you're
It's
wondering
okay.
who made that decision.
Well, it's just being presented
You're
as...
thinking that Jerry called Belichick and Bill was like, I'm not interested.
Well, they're apparently friends,
Right.
Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick.
No, I know they are.
I think for
What?
pretty obvious
That was
reasons.
momentum bar.
Look, Jerry's had some success handing over the reins. We all know that Jerry prefers having the glory
I
for
hate
himself.
defense in
Whereas
Madden. It
he's
is
dubbed
so
Tory
shit.
Holes, not putting words in his mouth. Whoa, that's been a Jerry Jones thing. Look up the clip. But no, it's an odd fit. I think just given personality dynamics. And I think Arthur Blank is a perfect kind of owner. Keep in mind, you also have to remember what Bill Belichick left behind in New England, where there was a bit of a power struggle. At times he won, at times he lost with Robert Kraft. Really want to sign up for that? No, we'd rather go to Arthur Blank, who's not as opinionated.
As a Falcons fan, this must be a huge mind though, if he does actually become the head coach. Like, I can't imagine.
Why is he choosing us?
For me as a Steelers fan, like, I've hated Bill Belichick my whole life because he's just beaten the Steelers so many times.
Right.
If he was the next head coach of the Steelers, I would probably throw up in my mouth.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, even though I'm not a Browns fan anymore, it was weird seeing him as a Browns quarterback and seeing all the fanfare and all the memes and how in love the Cleveland Browns fans, how hard they fell for Joe Flacco, because I was watching that from the prism of Mike fandom from years ago. I hated Joe Flacco. That was just very odd.
I'm kind of torn on Belichick because there's part of me that wants to root against it. Like, part of me wants him to go to Atlanta because I feel like he'll fail there and it would be like good. But then there's part of me that, like, there's a nostalgia part of me that, like, wants Bill Belichick to still be in the league and be successful. So I'm torn on what I'm
The league's better with Belichick.
I feel you.
I'm rooting. Like, I think I talked myself into. I want him to actually succeed, so I want him to be in the NFC, so he's not dealing with the Dolphins.
Look, the NFL's been, when they have an aging wrestler that you know is going to retire, you'll have that wrestler put younger wrestlers over, and you have this cool little Venn diagram of an era in time where there's a passing of the baton.
Somebody back
And
deep
lucky
for
for
the
us, we got to see
return.
that
It's a
in real
60
time.
or
We got to see
they
Brady
do not
versus
have a big
Mahomes.
leg
We got
kicker.
to see
Who
this
is the kicker?
Chiefs team wrangle the AFC away from New England. But I will
Who is
say,
their
even though the NFL is perfectly healthy, insane numbers, biggest streaming event in the history of the world, I miss Tom Brady this year. And I miss him mainly
Jason
on primetime
Myers,
games,
what's his
especially
kicking
when we went
distance?
through that three-quarters run of the NFL season where we were hitting every under in primetime games. And I was wondering, what is this? Is this a fluke? Partly. But also, there's no Tom Brady
See,
playing
he
in
has,
these marquee
he has
games.
98
You knew what you were getting with
fucking
Tom
hell.
Brady every time.
And he has the
Josh
back
Allen's
of
not
Trench and
enough.
Kane. I just fucked up. I just fucked up. I just fucked
But I
up.
did miss Tom Brady.
Fuck!
Football season.
Fuck! I lost!
Now,
Wow.
he hasn't.
He missed!
Time.
He's been
Oh.
more active than when he played.
Yeah, it's a bummer because it doesn't appear like Aaron and I agree as much as I would have liked
On
to
anything,
believe.
Mike, really on anything.
You damn right receiving. I had to kick off the start of the game. You damn right receiving this overtime kick. I'm very mad I had to go to overtime. This is the 5th overtime game of this week alone.
Pika Mahomes and Pika Brady in terms of that guy is just executing at this insane level. And how can you not have respect for that? What I miss the most out of Aaron Rodgers missing this season is
5 yards.
for whatever reason,
105.
random occurrence, COVID, injury. We've never seen Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. And again, we miss out on that. Even though that was a huge
4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I am mad I threw so many picks.
And I don't know how many more
I think we're pass, but the new thing is to see Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. We're going to see it again this weekend, right?
The NFL rigged the game so that the Bills would win against the Steelers, and they moved it to Monday, and they let them throw snowballs at George Pickens. I've been saying this all week.
But it is, there's never been a run like the one of Tom Brady in sports. There's never been a run that of Bill Belichick's.
Right.
Lucky for that one particular market, it happened on the same exact team.
But I just figured Belichick learned, like, hey, I can't do this without a quarterback. And he's choosing the Atlanta Falcons, who don't have a quarterback.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
What are they going to do?
They're going to go get somebody else.
Trade for Justin Fields?
Maybe. Raiders not the answer. We know the Green Lizard is a good backup, but he's not your starter.
Yeah.
There's going to be quarterbacks out there they can get.
With Atlanta, it was an odd situation because they weren't just a quarterback away. They were also very clearly a head coach away, too. And so
Arthur Smith should have never been head coach. It should have been Raheem Morris.
Or Ritter there. They would be much improved. I don't rate
What?
Arthur Smith.
That was a sack?
So just from a head coaching move alone, you have turned, if everything stays
Let's
the
do
same,
it.
which it doesn't, this is
Throw it up to Hardy.
everything stays the same in that division, they'd be the clear odds-on favorite.
Bringing Josh McDaniels too, have him run the offense. Like there's stuff that you can do.
I feel like that's got to be
still
one,
doing that,
That's
huh?
got to be
He's
one
for sure gonna get a job,
stipulation.
for sure.
Arthur Blank needs to be like, all right, Belichick, you can come in. No McDaniel, and no who the hell? Who's like his just guys? Like
I think that's what scared Jerry
Patricia.
Jones
No
away.
Patricia?
Yes.
McDaniel.
It's
It's very confusing. The Miami guy doesn't have this.
But Mike, do you think that's what scared
Wow, you
Jerry
couldn't
Jones?
hold
The fact
on.
that Belichick was perhaps they had a conversation. I'm bringing all my guys. I'm in
Fuck!
Jerry's like, no.
I would bet my life, even though that's a drastic move, I would bet my life that
It's
Jerry
too much to bet, Mike.
that
It's not
Jerry
important.
Jones kicked the tires.
Don't bet your life.
I love a kicking of the tires.
I'm marking it.
Like, wait, Jerry Jones had to have kicked the tires.
Of course.
Made a call for sure, especially after we're down a half.
Wouldn't that have been
Hey,
reported though?
it's inside the
Whoa,
Whoa! What happened to my momentum bar?
Text from Jerry.
Bro!
I thought Bill Belichick
Game is tied!
halftime and coached the second
What
half.
the fuck?
Who's that coming out of the tunnel? Oh my God!
I wouldn't bet my life on it.
Let's get to Tony's top 5. What is your top 5, Tony?
Guys, this is a very exciting top 5. It's what dads say while watching football.
Ooh, I like this.
All
Yes!
Okay.
and I'm very excited about
Every
it.
dad.
Every dad says a version of something like this, and I've heard it from my dad, from my father-in-law, from dads that I watch football with. A lot of these things are
Not
said.
taking
Number
any
5,
chances.
let him play, ref.
I've said that, yeah.
Dads love
Oh,
saying
you
let him
did.
play.
Yeah.
I just missed.
Chris, ever say it?
It conveys toughness. It's like let him play.
Yep, I won.
Play a ticky-tack defensive. Call it. Come on, let him play. Number 4, there's holding.
It's close.
Whether they decide to call it or not.
I said it. Right in front of my kids.
I'm so pissed I gave up 16 into the damn Cardinals. But I won.
Imagine there's
Ugh. I need to stop throwing shit
Player
too.
catches the ball inside of his own 10-yard line. What happened? This is what the dads say. What happened to planting your feet on the 10-yard line and letting everything go over your head?
Dad says that.
You plant your feet
Fuck.
on that 10-yard line. That ball goes over your head.
Wait,
let
Jess.
it go.
No,
Jess,
Tony, the new rule is 5. But it used to be 10.
Jess,
And
your
we
dad
were
ever-
better for it.
Your dad ever say that?
I've
3
never heard my
touchdowns
dad say,
each
"Put your feet on the 10."
Oh,
for
you got it.
Harty
Plant your feet on the 10.
and
Let that ball go over.
If it
Trey McBride.
Second.
To me, it's more. It's simpler than that. It's just you gotta let that
Let
go.
him get Landry
Yes,
more
rather
involved,
than,
but
like,
he
I've never
can't
heard
get
the
Gotta
mad.
let it go.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
I got him the ball, so you can't bitch at me, motherfucker.
Dads at no ball.
1.5.
Let it go.
Plant your feet on the 10. Let that ball go over your head.
Dad's at no ball.
That's-
Lucy, your dad ever say that?
Never.
Doesn't know ball. Jeremy, your dad ever say that?
Actually, yeah, I think so.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
he knows ball.
104.
He knows ball. All right, number two.
Number 2, what's a defender supposed to do there? Can't hit high, can't hit low. Where do you hit him?
Say it all the time.
That's all of us.
Oh my god. You're not the only one. I say the same shit.
He gets so outraged.
It's true. Where do you hit him? Got to hit him in the middle now.
Yeah.
How do you even do that?
Yeah, I always like that. Where are you supposed to hit him? The middle? But sometimes it's not possible.
Gotta go low.
All right, number 1.
Number 1. This is the reason why I made this list is for number 1. So as you see everything here, number 1 is, and we're gonna have to put this on a shirt, and I heard it in here already. Big third down here.
That was my guess.
Dads everywhere. Get to the edge of their seat.
Yep.
Look around and say, big third down right here.
All the time.
Second downs are never big.
Nah, it's a big third down.
Downs, well, it's third down or punt, Chris.
You know what else I like to lean on? Heard footsteps.
Yeah, heard footsteps. Should have had that. We need a shirt that says big third down here.
Oh, he started looking where he was running instead of catching the ball.
Cardinal rule.
Big third down is probably...
Yeah. That's in the same family as this could be the game here. Right? Because I'd say that to Cynthia all the time.
Yes.
You know, this could be the
ball game. Yeah.
We got to stop here. That's a ball game.
Tell Jenny, big third down. She's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, don't worry about it.
She doesn't believe me anymore because of the Georgia Tech game. When I was doing the math in my head at like a minute 30, I'm like, that's a ball game.
We were talking lowest UM moment. That's the ball game. We were talking lowest UM moment. I figured that would be the lowest UM moment right there.
Not even close.
Mike, all you had to do was go into victory formation.
You guys were undefeated.
Yeah, it's just not the FIU by far.
I really want to replay the video of what just happened.
Sorry for all the yelling also during my video. I was just very emotional. But I would like to thank everyone for watching, and please view and like and subscribe my videos, bring up my view count, bring up my watch hours count, because I'm trying to make money on YouTube, and I will be happy for y'all to help me be able to do that. So please like and subscribe, watch my videos, and until next time, this is your boy, Sports Guru, signing out after another production of Sports Guru
still being tested on the
Channel.
same content that anyone would be tested on in person, the comprehensiveness of the program.